Chapter 381. Stepping on the whole gale eagle, Ting Qingshan was surrounded by a dense mass of birds. Countless birds bypassed Ting Qingshan and the whole gale eagle, flying away rapidly. Jie jie, their cries rose and fell, resounding in the sky. According to the records, the snake-swallowing birds feed on poisonous snake. There are countless poisonous snakes in the dreamy cloud swampland. Logically, the flock of snake swampland birds shouldn't migrate. Ting Qingshan felt slightly puzzled. There were simply too many snake swampland birds. The area in front of Ting Qingshan was still covered by a dense mass of birds, causing him to be unable to see the area in front of him clearly. Screech, a sound that sounded like the neighing of a fine horse and the roar of a dragon came from the distant horizon. Immediately, the snake swampland birds flapped their wings with all their might and fled quickly. Soon, Ting Qingshan and the whole gale eagle arrived at the end of the flock of snake swampland birds. After the flock of snake swampland birds left, the area in front of Ting Qingshan was empty. What is that? Ting Qingshan looked into the distance and saw a tall, pitch-black horse galloping in midair. Its 4 hooves were galloping as if there was earth beneath them. Its pitch-black mane fluttered in the wind like the cloak of this heavenly horse. Its speed was not fast, and it was only comparable to that of the flock of snake swampland birds. It galloped continuously, occasionally letting out a deafening cry as it followed behind the flock of snake swampland birds happily. It can actually gallop in midair without wings. This is the king of the dreamy cloud swampland, the godly beast dark elegant horse? Ting Qingshan gasped. Since it could gallop in midair without wings, it was undoubtedly a demonic beast that had attained emptiness realm culmination. As the dark elegant horse galloped between the heavens and the earth, the endless flock of snake swampland birds in front of it fled, as if they had encountered an extremely terrifying natural enemy. The dark horse suddenly turned its head and looked at Ting Qingshan with its deep black eyes. This is... Ting Qingshan only felt that there was a strange power in the eyes of the dark elegant horse. It was as if a cold flood was rushing towards him in an instant. Ting Qingshan felt dizzy. Standing on the back of the whole gale eagle, his body couldn't help but sway and his face turned pale. One was the godly beast dark elegant horse that was galloping in midair, and the other was a human riding on a whole gale eagle. The two of them looked at each other for a short while. Seeing that Ting Qingshan's face had suddenly turned pale, the dark elegant horse let out a proud neigh that sounded like a dragon's roar, and galloped again to chase away the countless snake-swallowing birds. Watching the dark elegant horse gradually disappear into the horizon, Ting Qingshan still could not calm his heart. As expected of the dark elegant horse, the mount of the omnipotent Duanmu Yu, Ting Qingshan exclaimed in his heart. Ting Qingshan had a feeling, this dark elegant horse could easily kill him in a single move. The dreamy cloud swampland, which is filled with danger, is not dangerous to me. To this dark elegant horse, this place is probably its back garden. It is the king of the dreamy cloud swampland. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. If he could tame a demonic beast that had reached emptiness realm culmination, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the land of the 9 prefectures. However, with his current strength, it was just a dream. I should continue to look for the dreamy cloud white fruit. Once I find it, not only will there be hope for Father to stand up again, but I will also be able to obtain the 6 stone inscriptions and step into the emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan continued to ride on the whole gale eagle and carefully surveyed the vast dreamy cloud swampland below. On the 18th day and night after entering the dreamy cloud swampland, the whole gale eagle swooped down from the sky and landed on a mountain that was only a few dozen zhang high. To be more precise, this short mountain that was a few dozen zhang high couldn't even be considered a mountain. It could only be considered a hill. Tonight, the moon was very bright. The nearly full moon hung high in the sky like a jade plate. Night enveloped the entire dreamy cloud swampland. At this moment, Ting Qingshan was surrounded by continuous hills and low hills. Among the hills there were also many lakes. Under the cover of the moonlight, one could clearly see the misty fog that lingered on the surface of the lakes. This made the dreamy cloud swampland seem like a dream. Little Gray, have a good rest. Ting Qingshan patted the whole Gale Eagle's feathers. Immediately, he placed a huge bird that was half the height of a human on the ground. Ting Qingshan had casually caught this huge bird along the way. This was Ting Qingshan's and the whole Gale Eagle's dinner. Ting Qingshan pulled out a huge tree that was as thick as a person's thigh. As if he was kneading mud, he cut the trunk of the tree into sections. Then, flames emerged from his hands and easily set the trunk ablaze. Ting Qingshan casually built a huge bonfire. Chi-Chi, Ting Qingshan plucked out the feathers of the huge bird and removed its internal organs. After using the water's supreme force to shake it clean, he placed it on the bonfire and slowly roasted it. With some spices brought from the dreamy cloud ancient city, the taste of the roasted wild bird became very delicious. Screech, the whole Gale Eagle surrounded the bonfire and stared at the huge bird that was being roasted. Little Gray, don't be anxious. When the bird was almost roasted, Ting Qingshan tore a small piece and tasted it. He nodded and said, "Yes, it's done." As he spoke, he tore off a thigh from the roasted huge bird that was half the height of a human and placed the rest in front of the whole Gale Eagle. One thigh was at least 7 to 8 gene of meat. The man and the demonic beast ate with relish. Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi, some very subtle sounds came from the surroundings. Ting Qingshan glanced around and saw that in the weeds not far away, a dark green snake was slowly approaching. Seeing this, Ting Qingshan secretly shook his head. He was already used to it. In the dreamy cloud swampland, it was indeed easy to attract all kinds of poisonous insects and aquatic beasts by lighting a bonfire at night. Moreover, the fragrance of the roasted meat would also attract aquatic beasts and poisonous insects. However, Ting Qingshan already had a way to deal with it. Little Gray, Ting Qingshan shouted. Screech, the whole Gale Eagle emitted an ear-piercing screech. The aura of an innate flying demonic beast spread out, immediately scaring the hideous dark green snakes into retreating. Immediately, each of them tactfully hid far away. Roar, a hoarse and unpleasant roar came from not far away. Hearing this, the whole Gale Eagle was instantly enraged and emitted an even louder cry. Roar, the unknown monster seemed to be very angry as well. The surrounding 100-li area was its territory. It was the king of the surrounding area. How could it tolerate the proud roars of other demonic beasts? Obviously, this unknown monster thought that the whole Gale Eagle had provoked it. Ting Qingshan grabbed the roasted thigh and fiercely ate a few mouthfuls. He then placed the roasted thigh at the side. The grease in his hands was instantly shaken off by the supreme force. Holding the reincarnation spear, he leaped out and said, "Little Gray, stay here. I'll go take a look." The whole Gale Eagle nodded happily. The whole Gale Eagle was an innate demonic beast, but it was only an elementary innate demonic beast. Normally, it wouldn't dare to be so arrogant towards other demonic beasts. However, since it was following Ting Qingshan, it could be so arrogant. It was precisely because of its arrogance that it attracted the dissatisfaction of some other demonic beasts and caused them to roar angrily. This way, Ting Qingshan would know the location of the demonic beast through the roar. This was also the method that Ting Qingshan used to find demonic beasts. Bringing Little Gray along is really a wise choice. It's much easier to find demonic beasts. Ting Qingshan searched for over 30 demonic beasts in 18 days. More than half of the demonic beasts were discovered by Ting Qingshan because of the whole Gale Eagle's proud roar at night. Holding the reincarnation spear, Ting Qingshan stepped on the surface of the lake and walked in the mist. Hua hua, every step he took caused the surface of the lake to ripple. From time to time, poisonous snakes or strange fish and water beasts that were as long as 2 people would emerge from the lake. Ting Qingshan's gaze swept past them and completely ignored these poisonous snakes and water beasts. He rapidly approached the hill where the roar came from. A huge gray fish that looked like a ferocious crocodile suddenly leaped up and bit towards Ting Qingshan with its crisscrossed rows of sharp teeth. The water-blue armor on the surface of Ting Qingshan's body suddenly rippled. The big gray fish was thrown into the air and rolled a few times in the air before falling into the lake, creating countless splashes. Ting Qingshan's body suddenly leaped up and directly landed on a small hill. This was a small hill that was approximately 100 zhang tall. The stones on the small hill were greenish-black, and there were large amounts of water plants and weed. There were also some trees and vines. So many snakes? Ting Qingshan frowned. It was normal to have snakes in the water. However, the mountain was densely packed and there were large numbers of snakes everywhere. This was very rare even in the dreamy cloud swampland. Snake Mountain? Snake Cave? Ting Qingshan thought to himself as he stepped on the large mountain and strode forward. There were too many snakes on this mountain. Ting Qingshan stomped 2 snakes into pieces with 1 foot. Many snakes in the surroundings hissed, and even leaped towards Ting Qingshan to bite him. However, Ting Qingshan ignored them and strode forward rapidly. Any snakes that tried to attack him would be sent flying by the fierce supreme force. They would either be shocked to death or trampled to death. In merely 10 breaths, Ting Qingshan found the location of the demonic beast. It's really a big fellow. Ting Qingshan looked at the snake tail that emerged from the cave. The snake tail, which was as thick as a water tank and covered with purplish-black scales, made one's heart tremble. This place is indeed a snake cave. There are snakes everywhere. This big fellow is also a snake demonic beast. Ting Qingshan suddenly stomped his foot. Rumble, the entire mountain shook violently. A large number of rocks rolled down and crushed many snakes to death. Roar, an angry roar came from the cave and the snake tail swam. Ting Qingshan raised his head. He saw a huge snake head that was even larger than a wheel emerge from the top of the mountain and look down at Ting Qingshan. Immediately after, another similar snake head emerged from the top of the mountain. 2 demonic beasts? Ting Qingshan was shocked. The 2 huge snakes swam downwards. Soon, Ting Qingshan discovered to his surprise, it's not 2 demonic beasts, but a twin-headed violet coral serpent. Ting Qingshan looked at the demonic beast with a thick and long body and 2 ferocious snake heads. The records of this demonic beast in the books clearly appeared in his mind. Violet coral serpent, there are purple ring marks on its abdomen. An adult violet coral serpent is about 10 zhang long and is an innate demonic beast. After the transformation, it will grow a second head and become a twin-headed violet coral serpent. Its body will be about 15 zhang long and is a golden dan innate demonic beast. It can spit venom and melt gold and fossils. Tsk. I've been in the dreamy cloud swampland for 18 days and have encountered more than 30 demonic beasts. Including you, I've only encountered 3 golden dan innate demonic beasts. Ting Qingshan was not surprised. Instead, he was happy. A golden dan innate demonic beast. If there are medicinal herbs and spiritual fruits in its lair, they must be top-notch treasures. The 2 golden dan innate demonic beasts that Ting Qingshan encountered in the dreamy cloud swampland had benefited him greatly. P.S. 2 chapters completed. What is this huge serpent lair? We'll find out tomorrow. Chapter 382. Under the hazy moonlight, the twin-headed violet coral serpent coiled around the mountain stared coldly at the human in front of it. You big snake, I can't be bothered to kill you. With the reincarnation spear in hand, Ting Qingshan strode towards the top of the cave. Every step covered a distance of several zhang. In just 3 steps, he had already reached the side of the twin-headed violet coral serpent. The 2 heads of the violet coral serpent were raised high and stared coldly at Ting Qingshan. It seemed to be surprised at the audacity of the human in front of it. Just as Ting Qingshan took his fourth step, a strong stench came. The two heads of the violet coral serpent opened at the same time and tried to swallow Ting Qingshan. Humph! Ting Qingshan snorted coldly like thunder. He took a step forward and twisted his waist. A strong force poured into the reincarnation spear through his hands. The spear was like a swimming dragon. An illusory silver shadow of the spear lit up and smashed towards one of the heads of the twin-headed violet coral serpent at an astonishing speed. The twin-headed violet coral serpent immediately dodged. Purring! The shadow of the reincarnation spear smashed onto the thick and long body of the twin-headed violet coral serpent. Woo! The twin-headed violet coral serpent let out a sharp hiss of pain. Both of the serpent's mouths spat out fresh, red blood. Its enormous body, which was at least 15 zhang long, was actually sent flying by Ting Qingshan's spear strike. Its wriggling body twisted in midair, then smashed into trees, crushed weeds, and fell heavily onto the mountain rocks. It even smashed to death many ordinary venomous snakes that couldn't dodge in time. Mountain rocks rolled down. Ting Qingshan glanced at the twin-headed violet coral serpent, shook his head, and continued walking towards the cave. The two heads of the twin-headed violet coral serpent were covered in blood. Its two heads were raised high, watching the spear-wielding human walk towards its nest. However, it didn't dare to stop him. The speed and power of the human's spear completely frightened it. It knew that if this human wanted to kill it, it would be very easy. At least it's tactful. Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and arrived at the entrance of the cave. This time, I hope it's the dreamy cloud white fruit. Even if it's not, I hope it's a treasure of the dew-grass level. I hope you won't disappoint me. Muttering to himself, Ting Qingshan smiled as he stepped into the deep, dark cave. At night, the cave was even darker. However, in front of Ting Qingshan, who had night vision, it was as bright as day. Everything could be seen clearly. Ting Qingshan quickly walked in and looked around carefully. A putrid smell filled the cave. Ting Qingshan's expression did not change. He quickly walked into the depths of the cave and scanned the surroundings. There are no treasures in this cave. The surroundings were filled with greenish-black stones, which were very ordinary. I was happy for nothing. After patrolling the area once, Ting Qingshan shook his head and walked outside. However, he had only taken 2 steps. Something's not right. From the corner of Ting Qingshan's eyes, he noticed a faint trace of green on a bluish-black stone in the corner. That faint trace of green could only be seen from where Ting Qingshan was standing. It was impossible to see this trace of green from other places. This is... Ting Qingshan walked over and discovered that there were a few stones there, which happened to seal the trace of green. Fortunately, a trace of it was still exposed, which was why Ting Qingshan discovered it. He squatted down and carefully removed the 2 stones. A touch of green that could move one's soul entered his eyes. Ting Qingshan could not help but take a deep breath, and his eyes lit up. He saw a lush green leaf that was filled with vitality, and a greenish-brown branch. What attracted Ting Qingshan the most was the fruit that was slightly smaller than a fist, and looked like an infant. The entire fruit tree grew in the crevice of the mountain rock. Whether it was the branch, the leaves, or the fruit, they all had a faint green glow and were filled with vitality. Phew! Even when he smelled the fruit tree, Ting Qingshan felt refreshed. Dreamy cloud white fruit. Ting Qingshan could not help but feel ecstatic, and his eyes lit up. I finally found it. After 18 days of detailed searching, riding on the whole Gale Eagle, Ting Qingshan almost walked through the entire dreamy cloud swampland. Finally, on the night of the 18th day, he found this dreamy cloud fruit tree in the cave of the twin-headed violet coral serpent. The color of this dreamy cloud white fruit? Ting Qingshan frowned. The skin of the fruit, which looked like an infant with a jade-green glow, was not white but green. At first glance, Ting Qingshan thought that the green color was caused by the green halo. Now that he carefully examined it, he discovered that the skin was green. It's not ripened yet? Ting Qingshan could not help but be surprised. What should I do? Ting Qingshan was somewhat anxious. It's not ripened yet, so I can't pick it. Do I just wait here foolishly? I don't know how long it will take for this dreamy cloud white fruit to fully ripen. A difficult problem was placed in front of Ting Qingshan. Many thoughts flashed through Ting Qingshan's mind. Very quickly, Ting Qingshan made up his mind. A treasure like the dreamy cloud white fruit has very strict requirements for its growth. It's impossible for me to transplant it to the dreamy cloud martial immortal. Ting Qingshan was very clear that no matter what kind of treasure it was, such as the scarlet fruit or the black fire spirit fruit, none of them could be transplanted. Otherwise, wouldn't those great sects fight to plant them? Let it continue to grow here. I will immediately inform the dreamy cloud martial immortal. Let the violet coral serpent continue to live here. If I kill the violet coral serpent, this cave will probably become the nest of many venomous snake. This cave would probably become the nest of those venomous snake. Those ordinary venomous snakes didn't have any intelligence, so they didn't know how precious the dreamy cloud white fruit was. It is very likely that they will accidentally destroy the dreamy cloud white fruit. Ting Qingshan no longer hesitated and placed the two miscellaneous stones back to their original positions, hiding the dreamy cloud white fruit tree. With the reincarnation spear in his hand, he quickly walked out. Standing at the entrance of the cave, Ting Qingshan looked into the distance. The twin-headed violet coral serpent was looking at Ting Qingshan from afar. For the time being, I will let you live here, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. Immediately, he stepped on the mountain rock and flew downwards like a rock spreading its wings. Seeing that Ting Qingshan had left, the twin-headed violet coral serpent immediately swam back to its own cave. The only precious thing in its cave was the dreamy cloud white fruit. The twin-headed violet coral serpent checked and saw that the dreamy cloud white fruit tree was not damaged at all. Moreover, the miscellaneous stones were still in their original positions. Only then did the twin-headed violet coral serpent feel at ease. From the twin-headed violet coral serpent's point of view in the dark, humans' eyesight was very poor. Not to mention finding the dreamy cloud white fruit. The next morning, Ting Qingshan sat on the back of the whole gale eagle and flew rapidly towards the east. After 4 hours of flying, the sun hung high in the sky. The whole gale eagle arrived in the sky above the dreamy cloud ancient city. Looking down from the sky, the dreamy cloud ancient city was densely packed with people, like ants. Little Gray, go down. Ting Qingshan patted the back of the whole gale eagle and pointed at the rising sun city in the dreamy cloud ancient city. Whoosh! The whole gale eagle swooped down. The rising sun city was only a few li in circumference. Ting Qingshan could easily find the location of the dreamy cloud martial immortal's palace. Little Gray, over there. Ting Qingshan pointed and the whole gale eagle directly flew towards the open space in front of the dreamy cloud martial immortal's palace. Sounds of rapid footsteps. Seeing Ting Qingshan swooping down from the sky, many soldiers quickly surrounded him. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the rising sun city? Although only a few of these elite soldiers had seen Ting Qingshan and the whole gale eagle before 19, most of them did not know who Ting Qingshan was. All of you, retreat. A deep and low voice sounded. A streak of azure lightning pierced through the air and landed in front of the soldiers. It was the great elder, Mu Wang. Mu Wang looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and said, Brother Ting, you have returned from the dreamy cloud swampland. It seems that you have good news. Brother Mu. Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded. Rumble, the door of the palace opened and 2 azure-cloaked men walked out. One of them said with a loud voice, Mr. Ting, please enter. All of you, retreat. Mu Wang immediately scolded the soldiers. At this point, how could the soldiers not know that the relationship between Ting Qingshan and the higher-ups of the Mu clan was not ordinary? None of them dared to make a sound and immediately retreated in all directions. "Brother Ting, let's go in." Mu Wang enthusiastically followed Ting Qingshan and the whole Gale Eagle into the palace. It was the same palace where Ting Qingshan first met the dreamy cloud martial immortal. The dreamy cloud martial immortal was reading a book seriously. "Qingshan is here." The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and placed the book on the table before him. "Haha, Qingshan, it seems that you have found the dreamy cloud white fruit. Flying demonic beasts are indeed fast. If I were to search for it, I would probably not be able to find it even after a year and a half." Ting Qingshan and Mu Wang walked over. "You are right to say that I have found it. However," Ting Qingshan shook his head. The dreamy cloud martial immortal's heart sank. Feeling slightly worried, he hastily asked, "What happened?" "I did find the dreamy cloud white fruit, but the dreamy cloud white fruit is not ripe. The skin of the fruit is still green." Ting Qingshan sighed. "What?" The dreamy cloud martial immortal was slightly shocked. "It's okay." The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and said, "If worst comes to worst, I can wait a few years before picking it." However, Ting Qingshan was unwilling. Wait a few years? According to his plan, he would return to the land of the 9 prefectures after attaining the emptiness realm. If he waited until he reached the emptiness realm and the dreamy cloud white fruit was not ripe, then it would be troublesome. Ting Qingshan didn't know the growth cycle of the dreamy cloud white fruit. Some spiritual fruits could mature for dozens of years or even hundreds of years. Some spiritual fruits could mature in just a few months. "How many years do I have to wait?" Ting Qingshan frowned. "Brother Ting, how big was the dreamy cloud white fruit that you saw?" Mu Wang, who was at the side, asked. "The size of a wine cup? Or the size of half a fist?" "Almost the size of a fist," Ting Qingshan hastily said. "I shouldn't have to wait too long." "Almost the size of a fist?" The dreamy cloud martial immortal, who was at the side, revealed a joyful expression as he said, "That means it's going to mature soon. I reckon that I will need at most half a year." At most half a year. Ting Qingshan heaved a sigh of relief. No matter how arrogant Ting Qingshan was, he didn't think that he could reach the emptiness realm within half a year. "Haha," the dreamy cloud martial immortal laughed and stood up. "Qingshan, you have helped me greatly. Bring me to the dreamy cloud swampland immediately. I want to see where the dreamy cloud white fruit is." "Of course, I will keep my word. After I see the dreamy cloud white fruit, I will lend you the 6 stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms personally carved by the godly axe deity, Yu the Great." "Congratulations, Brother Ting." The great elder, Mu Wang, said with a smile. Ting Qingshan felt a surge of joy. 6 stone inscriptions? Just 1 stone inscription allowed him to improve greatly. These 6 stone inscriptions might allow him to completely step into the emptiness realm. P.S. Tomato has been stuck recently. His mental state isn't very good. He knew what was going to happen, but writing it was like squeezing toothpaste. "I will write 1 chapter today. Please forgive me." The chapters that Tomato owes everyone have accumulated to 7 chapters. After passing this stage, Tomato will make up for what he owes. Chapter 383. In the palace of the Dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal in the Dreamy Cloud Ancient City, Ting Qingshan, the Great Elder, and the Dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal talked for a while. "Qingshan, where does the Dreamy Cloud white fruit grow?" the Dreamy Cloud Martial Immortal asked. Ting Qingshan immediately took out a thread-bound book from his bosom and flipped to the few pages of the map. Then, he fixed on a page and pointed at a spot on the map. "Senior, look. The dreamy cloud white fruit should grow here. It should be about 20 to 30 li to the west of Mount Yi-Rui." The 3,000 li dreamy cloud swampland was too vast. Even the Rising Sun Trading Company didn't have a very detailed map. They could only mark some obvious mountains and lakes to determine the location. "West of Mount Yi-Rui?" The dreamy cloud martial immortal looked carefully and shook his head, sighing, "This map is too rough. I really don't know where it is just by looking at the map. It's in the cave of a snake mountain." Ting Qingshan continued, "Last night, I was on a small mountain in the middle of a lake. The small mountain was densely packed with countless snakes. Among them, there was a snake king. It was a demonic beast comparable to a golden Dan innate expert, the twin-headed violet coral serpent. Then, I found the dreamy cloud white fruit in its cave." "Oh no." The dreamy cloud martial immortal's expression changed drastically. "What's wrong?" Ting Qingshan was shocked. "Qingshan, did you kill the twin-headed violet coral serpent?" The dreamy cloud martial immortal asked hastily. "No." Ting Qingshan shook his head. The dreamy cloud martial immortal turned pale with fright and said with hatred, "Qingshan, you are wrong. You entered its cave and found the dreamy cloud white fruit. The twin-headed violet coral serpent's intelligence is not inferior to humans. It knows that you found the unripe dreamy cloud white fruit and will definitely come to pick it in the future. With the demonic beast's vengeful personality, it will definitely destroy the dreamy cloud white fruit and leave the snake mountain. Qingshan, you should have killed the twin-headed violet coral serpent and collapsed the cave. It's better to hide the dreamy cloud white fruit well." "Senior, don't worry," Ting Qingshan said. "That twin-headed violet coral serpent definitely thinks that I didn't find the dreamy cloud white fruit." The dreamy cloud martial immortal frowned. "Brother Ting, are you sure?" Mu Wang asked in surprise. Ting Qingshan nodded. "It's pitch black in the cave at night. Even I can't see clearly. Furthermore, the dreamy cloud white fruit was hidden very carefully by the twin-headed violet coral serpent. It could be said that, even if I were to enter 100 times, it would still be difficult for me to find it. Luckily, my luck was good and I discovered it by coincidence. I pretended that I didn't discover it and left the cave." With the intelligence of that twin-headed violet coral serpent, it definitely thought that I didn't discover the dreamy cloud white fruit, so it wouldn't be willing to destroy the dreamy cloud white fruit. It is hard to find even after entering 100 times. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled in surprise. "It seems that Qingshan is quite lucky." Ting Qingshan grinned. In fact, Ting Qingshan had night vision, so he discovered it by chance. Without night vision, it would be hard to find even after entering 100 times. "There's no time to lose. Just in case something bad happens. Let's depart now." The dreamy cloud martial immortal said, "Mu Wang, you and Qingshan ride the flying demonic beast and head to the demonic beast mountain. I will execute my body art and head to the demonic beast mountain with you." The back of the whole Gale Eagle wasn't big. It was already the limit for 2 people to sit on it. "Yes, teacher." Mu Wang said respectfully. "Qingshan, you just arrived, so I want you to depart again. I hope you don't mind." The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled as he looked at Ting Qingshan. "It's all right." Ting Qingshan asked in surprise, "Brother Mu, are you going to accompany us?" "Yes." The dreamy cloud martial immortal nodded and said, "Wait until we are sure that the dreamy cloud white fruit is there. We will definitely arrange for someone to watch over it. As for me, I will return with you and take the 6 mountain splitting stone inscriptions for you. These stone inscriptions are extremely valuable and are placed in a secret place. In the Mu clan, only the 13 elders and the patriarch of the Mu clan can take out the 6 stone inscriptions. I am the only one who can take them." Ting Qingshan understood that the dreamy cloud martial immortal had a transcendent status in the Mu clan. "Yes, let's depart." The dreamy cloud martial immortal said. "Brother Mu, please." Ting Qingshan smiled as he and Mu Wang climbed onto the back of the whole Gale Eagle. For the sake of Ting Qingshan, the whole Gale Eagle only screeched a few times before it agreed to carry Ting Qingshan and Mu Wang on its back. Phew phew, a strong wind blew against their faces. Ting Qingshan and Mu Wang were both sitting on the back of the whole Gale Eagle. The whole Gale Eagle flew above the dreamy cloud swampland at an astonishing speed. In the vast dreamy cloud swampland, there were lakes, swamps, and hills that were filled with mist. Weeds and aquatic beasts could be seen everywhere in the lake. At this moment, a streak of lightning was flowing on the surface of the dreamy cloud swampland. Its speed was not inferior to the flying speed of the whole Gale Eagle. Senior, such a powerful body art! Ting Qingshan looked down and exclaimed. Teacher reached the emptiness realm long ago, and became a martial immortal. The same body art, but he is much faster than me. Mu Wang looked down and said, If I were to travel on the dreamy cloud swampland, I would also need to reach this speed. I can do it, but I definitely can't do it as easily as teacher. Moreover, using true origin to travel at high speed consumes an astonishing amount of true origin. I can't run 2,000 to 3,000 li in one go. However, teacher's true origin is endless. Mu Wang's eyes were filled with envy. The whole Gale Eagle also noticed that the human below was running. As the saying goes, 4 legs are faster than 2 legs, and birds are faster than wild beasts. Of course, this was just a rough judgment. The speed of the human emptiness realm experts was still very exaggerated and shocking. However, the whole Gale Eagle was still slightly dissatisfied. Could a human catch up with its speed? Screech! The whole Gale Eagle screeched loudly and sped up. As the whole Gale Eagle sped up, the dreamy cloud martial immortal, who had already turned into a hazy streak of lightning, sped up as well. The whole Gale Eagle was not satisfied and sped up even more. However, the dreamy cloud martial immortal maintained the same speed as the whole Gale Eagle. A bird-type demonic beast and an emptiness realm expert. Unexpectedly, the speed kept increasing. After a while, the whole Gale Eagle finally reached its limit and could no longer increase its speed. Below, the dreamy cloud martial immortal maintained the same speed with ease. Haha, little gray, I don't know if you are confident or arrogant when you are competing with an emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan laughed as he stroked the feathers on the neck of the whole Gale Eagle. This demonic beast is really interesting. Mu Wang also laughed. The whole Gale Eagle screeched a few times as if it was admitting defeat. At the same time, its flying speed began to decrease. After all, if it wanted to fly long distances while maintaining its maximum speed, it would be too difficult for a bird-type demonic beast. Brother Ting, look over there. Mu Wang pointed to the northwest. Ting Qingshan also looked over. In the northwest, in the middle of the dreamy cloud swampland, there was a towering mountain that reached the clouds. This mountain was extremely tall. Even the foot of the mountain had a circumference of 70 to 80 li and a height of 40 to 50 li. Such a tall mountain was already the highest mountain in the dreamy cloud swampland. The dreamy cloud swampland had many lakes and hills. Such a tall mountain was extremely rare. The demonic beast mountain. Ting Qingshan praised. Yes, the demonic beast mountain. Mu Wang exclaimed. This demonic beast mountain has existed since the ancient times. It is the place with the most demonic beasts in the entire dreamy cloud swampland. Even the godly beast, the dark elegant horse, often appears there. The king of the demonic beast mountain is also the king of the dreamy cloud swampland. Ting Qingshan sighed emotionally. This mountain occupied an area of less than 100 li. Compared to the 3,000 li dreamy cloud swampland, it was nothing. However, this was the most dangerous place in the dreamy cloud swampland. Mu Wang nodded. The king of the dreamy cloud swampland's demonic beast mountain was a godly beast called Ghost Sky. The dark elegant horse was not a godly beast. However, ever since the dark elegant horse followed Duanmu deity, its strength increased continuously. When Duanmu deity passed away, the godly beast dark elegant horse also returned to the dreamy cloud swampland. It actually defeated Ghost Sky and chased Ghost Sky away, becoming the new king of the demonic beast mountain. In Duanmu continent, Godly beast was the name given to emptiness realm demonic beast. Godly beast ghost sky? Ting Qingshan asked curiously, where is that godly beast now? It was chased away by dark elegant horse. It seems to have entered the sea. More than 2,000 years ago, someone had once discovered the ghost sky in the vast southern sea. As for now, maybe godly beast ghost sky lives somewhere, or maybe it died of old age. After all, godly beast ghost sky was a godly beast that lived before the godly axe deity, Yu the Great. Although some demonic beasts had long lifespans, it didn't mean that their lifespans were endless. Around 2 hours later, Ting Qingshan and the others arrived at Snake Mountain. It's there. Ting Qingshan pointed downwards and said, it's that mountain. Mu Wang's face revealed a hint of joy. I'll go down for a while in case the twin-headed violet coral serpent discovers us, realizes its mistake, destroys the dreamy cloud white fruit, and escapes. Ting Qingshan immediately leaped down from the back of the whole gale eagle and landed on a hill very close to Snake Mountain. Ting Qingshan then dashed towards Snake Mountain at an extremely fast speed. However, the dreamy cloud martial immortal also caught up at this moment. Qingshan, have you arrived? The dreamy cloud martial immortal asked. Yes. Senior, I'll go and get rid of the twin-headed violet coral serpent first, Ting Qingshan said. Although the dreamy cloud martial immortal was powerful, he was not familiar with the situation of Snake Mountain. Thus, he immediately let Ting Qingshan go first. Ting Qingshan dashed up Snake Mountain like a beam of flowing light. At this moment, the twin-headed violet coral serpent had no idea that the terrifying human from last night had come again. Roar, roar, an ear-piercing and frenzied roar suddenly sounded from within Snake Mountain. The whole gale eagle dived down as well. Mu Wang hastily leaped down and landed on Snake Mountain. Together with the dreamy cloud martial immortal, they looked at the cave above from afar. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Ting Qingshan dashed out of the cave with lightning speed. His arms were wrapped around the thick and long tail of the twin-headed violet coral serpent. The twin-headed violet coral serpent's 15 zhang, nearly 40 meters, long body twisted and struggled in midair while emitting ear-piercing roars. The two huge serpent heads simultaneously tried to swallow Ting Qingshan. "Haha, I won't send you off." Ting Qingshan suddenly flung the serpent away. The huge body of the twin-headed violet coral serpent was flung into midair. It twisted in midair before smashing heavily into the great lake that was filled with mist. Within the mist, one could faintly see the terrifying serpent. Soon, the twin-headed violet coral serpent dived into the lake and disappeared. It no longer dared to provoke that human. Chapter 384. It was daytime in the Snake Mountain Cave. Although the cave was dark, Mu Wang and the dreamy cloud martial immortal could see everything clearly with their eyesight. "Senior, Brother Mu, look." Ting Qingshan walked to the corner and removed the two miscellaneous stones on the surface, revealing the dreamy cloud fruit tree underneath. The entire fruit tree seemed to be carved out of jade, and its entire body glowed with a faint green light. The fruit hanging on the tree was in the shape of an infant. The dreamy cloud martial immortal and Mu Wang's eyes lit up. This green-skinned fruit was one of the three great spiritual treasures of Duanmu continent, dreamy cloud white fruit. It's really it. The dreamy cloud martial immortal revealed a joyful expression. Mu Wang also exclaimed, "Legend has it that the dreamy cloud white fruit is in the shape of an infant. I have lived for so long, but this is the first time I've seen the dreamy cloud white fruit. It's really magical." "Yes." The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled. "Looking at the size of this dreamy cloud white fruit, it will take at least 2 to 3 months to a year and a half to fully ripen." TSK. Amazing. It actually grew in the crack of the mountain. The violet coral serpent even used a stone to hide it. It was really well hidden. The dreamy cloud martial immortal turned to look at Ting Qingshan and said, Qingshan, your luck is really good. This cave must be pitch black in the middle of the night, and this fruit is completely hidden. Under such circumstances, even I would have a hard time discovering it. Luck. Ting Qingshan smiled. Ha ha. The dreamy cloud martial immortal laughed happily and said, Qingshan, I will keep my word. You help me find this dreamy cloud white fruit. Yes, after I cure Yunji, I will give you the remaining dreamy cloud white fruit. You can use it to cure your father's legs. Now, Mu Wang, stay here and guard for 1 day. Now, Mu Wang, stay here and guard this place for a day. After that, you don't need to stay here anymore. I will guard this place for a long time. Teacher, let me stay here and guard. Mu Wang hastily said. I have something for you to do in a few days. The dreamy cloud martial immortal turned to look at Ting Qingshan and said, Qingshan, let's go back to the ancient city. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but be overjoyed. Thinking about the 6 stone inscriptions he was about to obtain, no matter how good his mental state was, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. 6 stone inscriptions were enough to allow his strength to rise by a large step. He might even step into the emptiness realm. In the distant 9 states there were his parents and relatives that he cared about. Even in his dreams, Ting Qingshan wanted to reach the emptiness realm so that he could return to the land of the 9 prefectures. It would only be useful when he reached the emptiness realm and returned to the land of the 9 prefectures. Ting Qingshan and the dreamy cloud martial immortal rode on the whole gale eagle and flew back to the dreamy cloud ancient city. In a quiet living room in the dreamy cloud ancient city, there was a table filled with all kinds of delicacies. There were also large plates of barbecued meat. Qingshan, stay here for a while. I'll go get the stone inscription. When you're almost done eating, I'll be back with it. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled as he carried his wolf-headed broadsword and left the parlor, leaving behind Ting Qingshan and the whole gale eagle. Ting Qingshan and the whole gale eagle only ate some simple barbecued meat in the dreamy cloud swampland for the past 19 days. Tisk tisk. Ting Qingshan drank wine and ate. The whole gale eagle, who was at the side, also swallowed 1 piece of barbecued meat after another. These barbecued meat were meticulously prepared by the chefs of the Rising Sun City. The taste was much better than the barbecued meat that Ting Qingshan casually made. After almost an hour, Ting Qingshan heard footsteps. The dreamy cloud martial immortal walked in while carrying a big black metal box with 1 arm. He glanced at the table and saw that most of the plates were empty. He couldn't help but laugh and say, Haha Qingshan, you can really eat a lot. Your bird-type demonic beast is the same. These 10 plates of barbecued meat have all been eaten. Senior. Ting Qingshan hastily stood up, but his eyes were fixed on the big black metal box. There were some patterns on the surface of the metal box, and there was a big reddish-brown lock. The lock had faint traces of dirt. It was obvious that this metal box had been here for a very long time. These are the stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms that you wanted. There are a total of 6 in here. As the dreamy cloud martial immortal spoke, he casually threw the box on the ground. Clang! The metal box landed on the floor of the living room and shook twice. Sounds of collision could be heard from the inside of the metal box. Crack! The dreamy cloud martial immortal stretched out his hand and grabbed the lock. With a push, the lock cracked open. He then lifted the lid of the box, revealing the contents inside. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened as he looked carefully. Many stone inscriptions were stacked in the box. Each stone inscription was rectangular. On the left was the diagram of the axe art, and on the right was the word Dao. The stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms were crystal clear, like jadeite. A faint azure glow circulated around the stone inscriptions, making them seem extraordinary. With these 6 pieces, I can take another big step forward. Ting Qingshan's heart was burning with excitement. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled as he looked at Ting Qingshan and observed Ting Qingshan's expression. Qingshan, you cultivate spear arts. Why do you value the stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms so much? Although these stone inscriptions were personally inscribed by the godly axe deity, you the Great, if you want to comprehend Tao from them and reach the emptiness realm, it is not easy. This is not a simple matter, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said. Since ancient times, many people had obtained the stone inscriptions. However, very few had reached the emptiness realm by relying on the stone inscriptions. In the past, the godly Axe Mountain had 36 stone inscriptions. But what happened in the end? The godly Axe Mountain had 36 stone inscriptions, but what happened in the end? Senior, the stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms are very beneficial to me. Ting Qingshan did not explain further. Yes. From today onwards, I will lend these 6 stone inscriptions to you, Ting Qingshan. The dreamy cloud martial immortal stared at Ting Qingshan and said, Qingshan, I don't need to explain how precious these 6 stone inscriptions are. It is not a problem to lend them to you for a few years. However, after a few years, you must return these 6 stone inscriptions to the Mu clan. If they are lost, Senior, don't worry. Ting Qingshan looked at the dreamy cloud martial immortal and said, These 6 stone inscriptions will not be lost in my hands. Good. It's good to hear you say that. The dreamy cloud martial immortal nodded with a smile and joked, If they are really lost, I will let you kill your way to the great clans and snatch their stone inscriptions. If you are unwilling to snatch them, I will use you to repay the debt. Haha, the Mu clan will make a profit. Ting Qingshan smiled as he closed the iron box's lid. He pinched the lock and locked the lid. Senior, since the matter has been settled, I will not stay any longer. Ting Qingshan carried the iron box on his back. Yes. When the dreamy cloud white fruit ripens, I will order someone to bring you here. When the time comes, I will let you watch from the side when I heal Yunji, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said. Ting Qingshan could not help but admire the dreamy cloud martial immortal, letting Ting Qingshan watch from the side. In this way, the dreamy cloud martial immortal would not be greedy for the dreamy cloud white fruit. Then I will wait for Senior's summon, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. After bidding farewell to the dreamy cloud martial immortal, Ting Qingshan left the dreamy cloud ancient city on the back of the whole gale eagle and flew toward the godly Axe Mountain of the Nanshan region. When the whole gale eagle arrived at the mountain range of the godly Axe Mountain, the sun had already set in the west, illuminating the western horizon in a bright red color. Ting Qingshan sat on the back of the whole gale eagle and flew high in the sky with the iron box in front of him. Touching the iron box, Ting Qingshan's thoughts drifted. 6 stone inscriptions. With these 6 stone inscriptions, reaching the emptiness realm in just 2 to 3 years, or at most, 4 to 5 years is definitely not a problem. Ting Qingshan was full of confidence. Actually, as he cultivated and his understanding of Tao increased, Ting Qingshan could faintly feel that he would be able to communicate with the heavens and the earth and have the boundless true origin. Father, mother, wait for me. Ting Qingshan's heart was filled with joy. The whole gale eagle had already flown to the sky above the forest north of the godly Axe Mountain. With a glance, Ting Qingshan saw the weak figure squatting by the crescent moon lake. It's the 19th day. It's been the 19th day since Big Brother Ting went to the West Tang region. Li Jun squatted by the lake. A hole had been punched in the thick ice in front of her, and she could clearly see the icy water below. I wonder when Big Brother Ting will come back. Li Jun's heart was filled with worry. Although Ting Qingshan had gone into closed-door cultivation for several months on the Bright Moon Island, she had been by his side at that time. And now, Ting Qingshan had gone to the West Tang region without giving her an accurate time. Because of this, Li Jun stayed by the lake every day, occasionally looking at the distant sky. She waited for Ting Qingshan to fly back on the whole gale eagle. Without an accurate time, she waited day after day. Day after day, she silently returned to her room. Ting Qingshan gently grabbed the neck of the whole Gale Eagle and exerted a bit of force. The whole Gale Eagle immediately understood Ting Qingshan's meaning. Don't dive down for now. During this period of time, the whole Gale Eagle had been with Ting Qingshan, so it still understood some of the simple meanings of Ting Qingshan's actions. Little June, she. Looking at the delicate figure below from high up in the sky, Ting Qingshan's heart stirred. Am I being too cruel to her? Ting Qingshan looked down silently. Ting Qingshan was not a hothead, nor was he ignorant of the ways of the world. Whether it was his previous life or his current life, Ting Qingshan was very accurate in guessing the thoughts of others. Back when he saved Li Jun for the first time, Ting Qingshan already felt this delicate lady's attachment to him. Especially this time, Li Jun followed him across the North Sea without hesitation and came to Duanmu continent. Her feelings were even more obvious. A person's heart changes slowly. For more than a year, Li Jun had accompanied him on the sea, preparing meals and taking care of him. She would occasionally joke with him so that the sea journey wouldn't be too lonely. Along the way, the lofty goddess of the god of heaven mountain, who was served by a large group of maids, was now willing to wash clothes and cook for him. If he wanted to cultivate in seclusion, Li Jun wouldn't complain. If he wanted to stay by the crescent moon lake, Li Jun would listen to Ting Qingshan. If he went to the Westang region, Li Jun would wait silently. Little June. Ting Qingshan could feel her concern. Actually, because Li Jun looked exactly like his wife, Kitten, in his previous life, Ting Qingshan would sometimes feel moved when he saw Li Jun. Sometimes, he would have special feelings for her. The two of them had been together for more than a year and were already used to it. If I continue like this, I will be too cruel to her. In the hearts of my parents, the concept of there are 3 ways to be unfilial, and having no descendants is the worst. Back then, they wanted me to marry her. When I reach the emptiness realm and return, if she still insists, I will marry her. Ting Qingshan made up his mind. Immediately, Ting Qingshan patted the whole Gale Eagle lightly. Screech, the whole Gale Eagle screeched loudly and dived down. Li Jun, who was letting her imagination run wild by the lake, heard the sound and raised her head in surprise. Big Brother Ting. P.S. 2 chapters completed. Chapter 385. Ting Qingshan's arrival made the crescent moon lake much livelier. In the evening, smoke curled up. They're here. Little Ping held a plate in each of her hands. As if she was treading on clouds, she nimbly arrived at the dining table. Behind her, Li Jun was also holding a plate, while Old Wang and Ting Shou were holding bowls of rice. Very soon, the dining table was filled with plates, and everyone sat around the table. Yes, it looks delicious. Ting Qingshan praised with a smile. Li Jun's eyes narrowed as she heard this. Uncle. Little Ping purposely humphed and said, Uncle wasn't here for the past 20 days. We had 2 dishes and 1 soup every day. When Uncle came back, it became 6 dishes and 1 soup. Sister June is too biased. She only treats Uncle well and doesn't care about us. These words made Li Jun blush. She couldn't help but glare at Little Ping. You little girl. Did I say something wrong? Little Ping giggled. You're right. Ting Shou said in a deep voice. See, Ah Shou said I was right. Little Ping smiled even more happily, causing Li Jun's face to burn. She couldn't help but glance at Ting Qingshan, and Ting Qingshan also glanced at her. Haha, let's eat, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Ting Qingshan looked at the people around him. Li Jun, who had always followed him, the lively and intelligent Little Ping, Xiong Shou, the teenager Ting Shou, and the always smiling coachman Old Wang. Because they had been together for a long time, Ting Qingshan had gotten used to everyone, which made him feel like he was at home. Ah Shou, how was your fist art during the days I was away? Ting Qingshan asked. Yes, it was okay. Ting Shou nodded. Ting Qingshan was surprised. His eldest disciple had been reprimanded too harshly in the beginning. Therefore, Ting Shou always thought that he did not do well. If Ting Shou dared to say it was okay, it meant that he must have had a great breakthrough. Big brother Ting, Li Jun said excitedly, you don't know, but Ah Shou practiced very hard during the time you were away. He even managed to cultivate the earth element supreme force. You've cultivated supreme force? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Even though Ting Qingshan had reached the realm of resonating muscles and bones, the earth element fist, water element fist and other fist arts created by Ting Qingshan all contained the Tao of the heavens and earth. Only by practicing these fist techniques and feeling the artistic conception could one's inner strength and spirit undergo a miraculous transformation and turn them into supreme force. Once the supreme force was produced, in the early stage of the supreme force, just the supreme force itself was comparable to the emptiness Dan innate expert, plus Ting Shou's physical strength. It definitely surpassed an ordinary hollow Dan innate expert. Yes. Ting Shou nodded. I just practiced it the day before yesterday. Good, very good. Haha. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but laugh heartily. He had cultivated the supreme force by practicing the earth element fist and other fist arts. Although Ting Qingshan was confident, but this was only his speculation. After all, he had only created this fist technique after comprehending a portion of the Tao. In the past, Ting Qingshan only speculated about the effects of letting others practice fist technique. Now Ting Qingshan knew. When one reached the Grandmaster realm and practiced any of the 5 elemental fists, one could indeed cultivate the supreme force. The 12 forms of form and will, the 5 elemental fists, and the 3 postures. This inheritance is enough for one to cultivate to the Grandmaster realm. As for the 5 elemental fists, such as the earth element fist and metal element fist, they are enough for a Grandmaster to cultivate the supreme force. With this, the branch of internal martial arts can be compared to the Taoist and Buddhist sections. It can be carried forward and flourish. Ting Qingshan was full of confidence. Very good. Ah Shou, continue to practice hard. Ting Qingshan said solemnly. He then asked, you cultivated the earth element supreme force? Only this one? Only this one. Ting Shou looked at Ting Qingshan nervously. He knew that his teacher possessed several types of supreme force. Good. From today onwards, you will focus on cultivating the earth element fist and the 3 postures. Ting Qingshan said solemnly, this earth element fist may seem simple, but it is broad and profound. Since you can cultivate the supreme force, it can only mean that you have grasped the superficial knowledge. Mastering the earth element fist well will be enough for you to move unhindered in the world. Yes, teacher. Ting Shou responded respectfully. He also felt that the earth element fist was broad and profound. The more he cultivated, the more he felt that his foundation was limitless. At the same time, he admired his teacher, who was able to create such a fist art. After dinner, the sky turned completely dark. Ting Qingshan and the others walked towards the belly of the godly Axe Mountain. Little June, how have you been recently? Ting Qingshan and Li Jun walked side by side on the stairs of the passageway. Li Jun smiled happily and nodded. Yes, I've been doing well. I've been very carefree every day. I've even gone to Nanshan City a few times. Places like Nanshan City's West Street and Huayang Street are very interesting. Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun and didn't say anything. Ting Qingshan knew Li Jun very well. Li Jun had been a very weak and innocent girl when her family had been ruined and her family had died. Then, she left with her teacher and entered the super sect, Heavenly God Palace, that was hidden in the dark. Under the guidance of the Heavenly God Palace, Li Jun started to change gradually. Then, she went to the god of Heaven Mountain and became a high and mighty goddess. On the surface, she appeared to be high and mighty, but she was actually very weak. When she was with Ting Qingshan, she always pretended to be very strong. Even if she waited by the lake every day for the past 20 days, she would say that she had been very happy, carefree during these 20 days. She crossed the ocean with me, yet she didn't tell me what was on her mind. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. Ting Qingshan was very clear about the torture of suppressing all kinds of troubles in one's heart. In his previous life, this was how Ting Qingshan trained as an assassin. Later on, his relationship with Kitten deepened. The two of them relied on each other and relied on each other. In the spacious belly of the mountain, iron leaf fruits that looked like luminous pearls were scattered everywhere, causing the entire belly of the mountain to be covered with a faint green glow. It was like a dream. Li Jun and the others all went to their respective places to sleep. Only Ting Qingshan took out the splitting mountain axe and placed it at the side. At the same time, he pinched the iron chain. Clang! Ting Qingshan opened the iron box and took out 6 stone inscriptions one by one. He lined them up in a straight line and leaned against the stone wall of the belly of the mountain. Every stone inscription had a picture carved on it, and every stone inscription had the word Tao with a different aura. Just by looking at these 6 stone inscriptions, Ting Qingshan felt an overwhelming aura rushing towards him. These 6 stone inscriptions are the 6th, 12th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Looking at the contents of the inscriptions, Ting Qingshan immediately determined the order. The stone inscription I obtained from capturing Dongzhizi was the 9th form. When Ting Qingshan saw these contents, he felt very happy, because the 36 splitting mountain forms was Emperor Yu's most powerful technique. Therefore, the later stages of the 36 forms became more profound. Even a novice emptiness realm expert might not be able to comprehend the moves that were too profound. What Ting Qingshan was most worried about was that the moves that were at the end of the sequence would appear. If the 32nd or 33rd forms appeared, it would be useless even if they were given to Ting Qingshan. As expected of the Rising Sun Trading Company, a great trading company that has existed for over 3,000 years. Out of these 6 stone inscriptions, 4 are adjacent to each other. Ting Qingshan felt even more happy. The 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th forms that could be adjacent to each other were connected with each other. The difficulty of comprehending them was slightly lower. Let's begin. Ting Qingshan picked up the splitting mountain axe at the side. Immediately, the mystical power contained in the splitting mountain axe connected with the imprints left by Emperor Yu on the 6 stone inscriptions. A faint glow connected the splitting mountain axe in Ting Qingshan's hand and the 6 stone inscriptions. The 6 stone inscriptions seemed to have come alive. Rumble, at this moment, Ting Qingshan was completely immersed in Emperor Yu's world. Emperor Yu had broken down the 6 moves into over 100 moves. All kinds of shadowy moves that blotted out the sky and covered the earth appeared in front of Ting Qingshan's eyes unceasingly. Ting Qingshan immersed himself in cultivation. At the side, Blue Luan was curled up on the ground. At the passageway not far away, the 6-legged blade-like cheese, huge triangular head was lying there. It opened its eyes and looked at Ting Qingshan, who was cultivating. Then, the 6-legged blade-like chi closed its eyes and continued to sleep. Ting Qingshan cultivated day and night. He even told Li Jun not to disturb him during lunch and dinner. At Ting Qingshan's current realm, he could even eat once every few months. However, Ting Qingshan was fine. Although he neglected to eat and sleep, he would still eat once every 7 to 8 days. Soon, more than 3 months had passed. This afternoon, the warm sunlight shone on his body. The ice on the crescent moon lake had melted, and the lake water was dazzling under the sunlight. The difficulty of the 6th form is lower than the 9th form, so it is easy to comprehend. However, the 12th form is obviously more difficult. Ting Qingshan walked in the forest. This was the first time he walked out of the underground mountain this month. No matter how hard he worked, he had to relax. After all, the 12th form was indeed very difficult. Ting Qingshan suddenly saw a figure in the forest. Old Wang. Ting Qingshan walked over. Old Wang was sitting on a tree branch with a long sword hanging on his waist. However, he was holding a tobacco pipe and puffing on it. His eyes were blurry and misty. I have been cultivating with boss for so long. My sword art is more than 10 times stronger than before. The sword art that boss taught me is indeed one of the best sword arts in the world. However, I want to reach the innate realm. It is too difficult, too difficult. Old Wang's mind was in a mess. How many martial saints are there in the world? Do I have to wait until I reach the martial saint realm before I leave? I'm afraid that I won't be able to do it even if I die. The muscles on Old Wang's face trembled slightly. Old Wang, what are you doing? A voice came from below. Old Wang looked down and hastily leaped down from the tree branch. He said respectfully, Boss. Old Wang was filled with gratitude towards Ting Qingshan. Old Wang, I feel that you have something on your mind. If you don't mind, tell me what's on your mind. Ting Qingshan said. Old Wang froze and a complicated expression appeared on his face. Chapter 386. Facing his boss, Ting Qingshan, Old Wang hesitated and said, Boss, I don't want to talk about this. Please forgive me. Seeing Old Wang's expression, Ting Qingshan guessed that this was a very important secret in Old Wang's heart. Since you don't want to talk about it, then don't say it. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, However, Old Wang, you have been with me for more than half a year. I can see that you have something on your mind, and it torments you, making you restless every day. I want to tell you, no matter what trouble or difficulty you encounter, you need to face it and face it. Running away won't solve the problem. Old Wang's expression became even more complicated, and his expression changed constantly. Boss! Old Wang stared at Ting Qingshan and said, I have 2 paths now. I really don't know which one to choose. You don't need to ask me about this. Ting Qingshan stared at Old Wang and said, Old Wang, remember, no matter which path you choose or what you want to do, there is only one thing. Don't regret your choice in the future. Don't let yourself regret your choice in the future. Ting Qingshan patted Old Wang's shoulder lightly and walked away. Don't regret? Old Wang stood rooted to the ground, Ting Qingshan's words echoing in his mind. Yes, don't regret. Old Wang's eyes lit up. The problem that had troubled him for a long time seemed to have been solved. So what if I die? I don't regret it. Yes. The fog in Old Wang's mind dissipated, and his heart became resolute. A rare smile appeared on his face as he said, No matter if I live or die, I don't regret it. The next morning, in the spacious mountainside, 6 stone inscriptions were arranged in a straight line. Ting Qingshan was practicing his fist art with his eyes closed. Ting Qingshan's entire body was enveloped by a golden radiance, and the golden supreme force formed a battle armor that covered his entire body. Big Brother Ting, Big Brother Ting! A clear voice resounded in the mountainside. Ting Qingshan stopped practicing his fist art, and the golden supreme force hid inside his body. He looked at Li Jun in confusion. He had already told Li Jun not to disturb him when he was practicing his fist art. He also knew that Li Jun had a sense of propriety. It must be something important for them to interrupt him. Big Brother Ting, come here. Li Jun stood on the stairs of the passageway and shouted. Little Ping stood beside her with a ferocious expression. Ting Qingshan walked over, puzzled. Little Jun, what's the matter? Old Wang has left. Li Jun said anxiously. Uncle Wang has already left this place, Little Ping said anxiously. Ting Qingshan frowned. Already gone? Didn't he tell you? Although Old Wang's sudden departure was a little sudden, Ting Qingshan wasn't surprised. Over the past 6 months, with Ting Qingshan's observation skills, he had long since discovered that old Wang had a very heavy heart. He had talked to old Wang yesterday. Looks like what I said yesterday made him make up his mind, Ting Qingshan said. Old Wang didn't greet us. When I went out to prepare breakfast, I discovered that old Wang wasn't there. However, in his house by the Crescent Moon Lake, I found a letter. The letter he left behind is for you, Big Brother Ting. With this, Li Jun handed over a folded piece of paper. A letter. Ting Qingshan took it and opened it. Boss, please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. After all, if you asked me why I left, I really wouldn't know how to answer. Therefore, I chose to leave quietly. What you said yesterday was right. As long as I don't regret my choice in the future, it's the right thing to do. Therefore, I made my choice. My heart is now at ease. Boss, please forgive me for deceiving you all for so long. Actually, my name isn't Wang Yang, but Yang Wang. Haha, a name is just a form of address. Whether it's Wang Yang or Yang Wang, I'm still that old Wang, boss's coachman, old Wang. If I can solve my problem, as long as boss doesn't mind, old Wang is willing to be boss's coachman for the rest of his life. Old Wang's words. Looking at the words on the page, Ting Qingshan smiled. Uncle, so Uncle Wang's name is Yang Wang and not Wang Yang. He actually lied to us on purpose. He's not a good friend. Little Ping humphed, but her eyes were slightly red. Ever since she started following Ting Qingshan, Little Ping and Old Wang had spent a lot of time together. Old Wang was very concerned about this little girl. Little Ping also felt very upset about Old Wang's departure. Old Wang is an inner strength expert, but he is willing to be a coachman. He is obviously a sword expert, but he carries a war saber on his back. It's obvious that he has a secret. It's not strange that he didn't use his real name. Li Jun sighed and said, however, Old Wang told us his real name before he left. This means that Old Wang truly trusts us. Alright. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, Old Wang has something on his mind, but he didn't tell us. It's obvious that he doesn't want us to know. Now that Old Wang has undone the knot in his heart, he is going to face it and solve it himself. We should be happy for him. Little June, is breakfast ready? Almost. Li Jun was slightly stunned. Let's go and have breakfast. Ting Qingshan said with a smile, we will cultivate later. Ting Qingshan also knew that Li Jun, Little Ping, and Ting Shou would probably feel upset about Old Wang's departure. After all, they had been together for so long, and they were already friends. Old Wang's departure was only a ripple in the middle of the journey. The few people by the Crescent Moon Lake were still living very peacefully. Ting Qingshan immersed himself in cultivation and comprehended the 6 stone inscriptions. During this process of cultivation, Ting Qingshan asked Li Jun to inform the people of the Rising Sun Trading Company to take away the 9th stone inscription that belonged to the Jiang clan when she went to Nanshan City to buy groceries. After all, the 9th stone inscription was already useless to Ting Qingshan. In the darkness of the spacious mountainside, immersed in cultivation, Ting Qingshan couldn't feel the passage of time at all. If Li Jun and the others didn't frequently tell Ting Qingshan the time, Ting Qingshan probably wouldn't even know how much time had passed. Among the 6 stone inscriptions, the first one was the 6th form. After spending only 2 months, Ting Qingshan completely comprehended it. The 2nd stone inscription was the 12th form. After spending 3 months, Ting Qingshan was unable to comprehend any more after comprehending part of it. Therefore, Ting Qingshan turned to study the 17th form, the 18th form and the other 4 consecutive forms. The 36 splitting mountain forms starts with the earth elemental Tao. As I cultivate, the metal elemental Tao will gradually be integrated into it. The further I go, from the 17th to the 20th form, the fire elemental Tao will be integrated into it. It will be very difficult to separate the earth elemental Tao, the metal elemental Tao, and the fire elemental Tao into one form. Although the 4 consecutive forms were integrated with the earth elemental Tao and the other 2 Taos, they weren't integrated with all 3 Tao. However, it didn't integrate all the concepts of the earth elemental Tao and the other 2 Taos. It only contained a portion of them. For example, the 17th form mainly focused on the fire elemental Tao. Only a portion of the earth elemental Tao and the metal elemental Tao were included. What Ting Qingshan needed to do now was, from these moves, he would separate the earth elemental Tao, the fire elemental Tao, and the metal elemental Tao. The more he separated, the more Ting Qingshan would comprehend. Then, he would integrate it into his fist art. What a pity! It would be great if I had the first 12 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Ting Qingshan sighed. Although this cultivation technique had a total of 36 forms, the foundation was the first 12 forms. Based on the content of the 12th form that Ting Qingshan had comprehended, the first 12 forms contained the earth elemental Tao and the metal elemental Tao. Just these 2 types of Taos were fused together, and the difficulty of separating them was much lower. The further he went, the harder it would be. It's a pity that the stone inscriptions are scattered all over the world. I can't gather them according to my wishes. Yes, I'll continue to comprehend. After several months of comprehending these 4 consecutive forms, my earth elemental fist had a slight breakthrough. As for the fire elemental fist, I had comprehended the 5th form from nothing. It's already very good. Ting Qingshan cherished this opportunity to possess the splitting mountain axe and the stone inscriptions. The combination of the 2 was like Emperor Yu personally teaching. Moreover, Emperor Yu disassembled each form into dozens of separate forms and taught them. Emperor Yu was an omnipotent expert. The first omnipotent expert in the world. He even created the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons and the 36 splitting mountain forms. His understanding of Tao had already reached an extreme point. Where else could one find such a teacher? As for Ting Qingshan, without anyone to teach him, he could use the heavens and the earth as his teacher and create the 6 forms of the earth elemental fist. This level of comprehension was also rare. The level of the disciple was already high, and it was much easier for the teacher to teach. With the combination of these 2, it wasn't strange that Ting Qingshan improved so quickly. The crescent moon lake was covered with snow and ice. At this moment, a great number of warhouse arrived at the lakeside. Haha, Lady June, the chubby elder jumped down from the warhouse. Li Jun, who had stopped practicing her whip art, looked at the person in surprise and said, "Second elder, please sit. Little Ping, bring some tea." "Hee, there's no need." The second elder chuckled and said, "Lady June, I am here under orders to invite Mr. Ting." "Under orders? Under whose orders?" Li Jun asked, puzzled. The second elder showed a rare solemn expression and whispered, "Dreamy, cloud, war, immortal." When Li Jun heard this, she immediately revealed a happy expression and whispered, "Is it because of the dreamy cloud white fruit?" "Yes." The second elder nodded and said, "Yes, it's because of the dreamy cloud white fruit. The dreamy cloud white fruit has already matured. It has been almost a year since Big Brother Ting went to the dreamy cloud ancient city last year. A while ago, Big Brother Ting said that the dreamy cloud white fruit should have matured. I didn't expect that the maturing dreamy cloud white fruit would take such a long time to mature." Li Jun sighed emotionally. Ting Qingshan had talked about this matter with him. The dreamy cloud white fruit was already the size of a fist and only had green skin. It was very close to maturing. However, the dreamy cloud white fruit's growth period was obviously very long. It only matured after a year. "Where is Mr. Ting now?" the second elder asked. "Big Brother Ting is cultivating." Li Jun hastily said, "I will go inform Big Brother Ting. He has always been concerned about this matter." "Second elder, wait here for a while." "I'm not in a hurry." The second elder chuckled. Li Jun immediately ran towards the underground cave where Ting Qingshan was cultivating in seclusion. Chapter 387. When Li Jun told him that the dreamy cloud white fruit had already matured, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but feel overjoyed. After all, the dreamy cloud white fruit was related to whether his father, Ting Yongfan, could stand up again. Little Jun, tell the six-legged blade-like Qi to guard the belly of the mountain. When I'm not here, no one is allowed to enter the belly of the mountain except for you two. Ting Qingshan instructed. Simultaneously, he put away the 6 stone inscriptions and the splitting mountain axe and placed them in a secret place within the spacious belly of the mountain. Yes, okay. Li Jun nodded. At the same time, she let out a low roar towards the huge creature lying beside her. On the 6-legged blade-like Qi's triangular head, a pair of protruding eyes opened lazily. It cast a glance at Ting Qingshan and let out a deep roar. It seemed to be slightly impatient. Big Brother Ting, the 6-legged blade-like Qi said that it will eat any outsider that enters. Li Jun smiled. Tisk tsk. How ruthless. It even eats people. Ting Qingshan glanced at the 6-legged blade-like Qi with a smile. However, the 6-legged blade-like Qi was lying on the ground and resting. It didn't pay any attention to Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan let out a sigh of relief. Ting Qingshan couldn't be blamed. The 6 stone inscriptions and the splitting mountain axe were very precious. They couldn't be lost. Big Brother Ting, this trip won't take too long, right? Li Jun asked. Ting Qingshan cast a glance at Li Jun and said, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said that he would ask me to be present when he healed his descendant, Mu Yunji. After Mu Yunji is healed, I will return with the remaining dreamy cloud white fruit. If nothing goes wrong, I will be able to return tonight. Haha, let's have dinner together when I return. Li Jun seemed to have thought of something and nodded with a blush. When Ting Qingshan saw Li Jun's expression, he recalled what he had just said and couldn't help but rub his nose. Why does it sound like what a husband says to his wife? Immediately, he carried the reincarnation spear and left the passageway. Mr. Ting Qingshan. The second elder was very respectful, and the group of warriors behind him looked at Ting Qingshan with sparkling eyes. As members of the Rising Sun Trading Company, these warriors knew quite a bit about Ting Qingshan. When Ting Qingshan had barged into the Dong Manor and captured Dongzhi, almost everyone who was well-informed knew about it. Haha, second elder, sorry for troubling you. Ting Qingshan laughed. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Tsk, this dreamy cloud white fruit grows really slowly. Second elder, I'm going to the dreamy cloud ancient city now. Forgive me for not accompanying you. At this moment, a huge eagle swooped down from the sky. It was the whole Gale eagle. Ting Qingshan smiled and glanced at Li Jun, who was not far away. It was Li Jun who had informed the whole Gale eagle to come over. Little Gray. Ting Qingshan beckoned with his hand. The whole Gale eagle immediately circled above Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan then leaped, reaching the height of a large tree, and landed on the back of the whole Gale eagle. On the eagle's back, Ting Qingshan glanced downward. Besides Li Jun and Little Ping, Ting Qingshan also saw 2 people in the northern forest. One of them was Ting Shou, and the other was a peasant girl who sat at the side and watched Ting Shou practice his fist art. It seems that the relationship between Ah Shou and the girl named Ah Xiu is getting closer. Ting Qingshan smiled and shook his head. Screech, the whole Gale eagle screeched loudly and excitedly. It flapped its wings abruptly, and the airflow surged violently. The whole Gale eagle immediately rode the wind and soared into the sky, rapidly disappearing into the northwest horizon. In the Rising Sun City, the inner city of the dreamy cloud ancient city, in an ancient palace, bursts of fragrance filled the air. There were no chairs in the spacious palace, only a dark red table. This table was made of red dragon wood. The longer an utensil made of red dragon wood was used, the brighter it would shine. Moreover, it also emitted an ancient wooden fragrance. There was a carpet under the table, and two people were sitting cross-legged on both sides of the table. One of them was the great elder Mu Wang, who carried an enormous blood-imbibing saber on his back. The other person was a bald, grave and stern young man. His sleeves were hanging on both sides and they were empty. On the table, there was a pot of steaming hot tea and two dark brown bowls. "Yunji, I thought you would never be nervous." Mu Wang held the teacup and took a sip. "Teacher, my state of mind has not reached that level. After all, when the most powerful martial saint arrives, I will be able to eat the dreamy cloud-white fruit and grow my arms." The bald, grave and stern young man's eyes flickered like cold stars. "It has been 11 years. I lost my arms when I was 19. This year I will be 30. Losing his arms caused him to suffer for the past 11 years. There were 8 main branches and 79 side branches of the Mu clan. There were also many branches under the side branches. The Mu clan had too many people. Just in the dreamy cloud ancient city alone, there were more than 800,000 Mu clan members. There were also several 100,000 Mu clan members scattered around the world. From this, one could imagine how intense the competition among the younger generation of the Mu clan was. The Mu clan was very fair. Regardless of whether it was the main branch or the side branch, those who were capable would have a high position. Mu Yunji belonged to a very weak branch of the Mu clan. Because of his performance when he was young, the status of his branch rose. His parents and many friends and relatives benefited from this. However, his arms were cut off. The status of the branch he belonged to immediately dropped. He was also secretly ridiculed by many people. He, Mu Yunji, was a genius in the past. However, now that his arms were cut off, what future did he have? He didn't care if people insulted him or mocked him. Even if his marriage was ruined because of this, he didn't care. He stayed in his room all year round and closed the door of his courtyard. He didn't care about the chaos outside. The loss of his arms only made him depressed for half a month. Then, he started to overcome many difficulties and actually transformed the Mu clan's rushing thunder saber art into a set of leg arts. He immersed himself in cultivation and didn't care about fame and fortune. After 10 years, he actually reached the innate realm at the age of 29. When this news spread, the entire Mu clan was in an uproar. Those who looked down on and ridiculed Mu Yunji were all dumbfounded. Those who broke off the engagement and many young talents of the Mu clan were all dumbfounded. An innate expert at the age of 29. Even in the entire Duanmu continent, he could be considered a top-notch genius. For example, Ting Qingshan's teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong, only reached the innate realm at the age of 30. However, Mu Yunji reached the innate realm at the age of 29. This was indeed an astonishing achievement. After all, the population of Duanmu continent was smaller than that of the land of the 9 prefectures. Zhuge Yuanhong was an absolute genius in the land of the 9 prefectures. Mu Yunji could be considered a genius that appeared once every 300 years in Duanmu continent. From this, one could tell how astonishing Mu Yunji's potential was. The appearance of such a genius in the Mu clan caused the dreamy cloud martial immortal, who had the highest status in the Mu clan, to lend 6 stone inscriptions to ask Ting Qingshan for help in finding the dreamy cloud white fruit. After that, the dreamy cloud martial immortal personally guarded the dreamy cloud swampland's Snake Mountain for 1 year. Yes, Yunji, your talent, comprehension, and perseverance are all good. However, don't be arrogant. The great elder, Mu Wang, said, for example, my good friend, Ting Qingshan, is not even 50 years old. However, his strength is stronger than mine. According to my estimation, he should have reached the innate realm at the age of 20. In Mu Wang's opinion, the emptiness Dan of the innate realm, the true Dan of the innate realm, and the golden Dan of the innate realm, in addition to comprehending the Tao of heaven, would take a very long time. Therefore, it could be deduced that Ting Qingshan was very young when he reached the innate realm. I understand. Mu Yunji nodded. From the low point when he lost his arms to the current moment, he became the most dazzling person in the younger generation of the Mu clan. The ups and downs caused Mu Yunji's temperament to change. Teacher, you also said that the most powerful martial saint, Ting Qingshan, is the most powerful person below the martial immortals. I also want to meet him. Mu Yunji's eyes beamed with excitement. Screech, a loud and clear bird cry resounded in the sky outside. The eyes of the great elder, Mu Wang, brightened. He stood up and said with a smile, Yunji, let's go. My good friend has arrived. The most powerful martial saint? Mu Yunji hastily stood up as well. The two of them left the palace one after the other and headed toward the palace where the dreamy cloud martial immortal resided. A huge eagle swooped down from the sky. A cold-looking young man with long hair was sitting cross-legged on the back of the eagle. Mu Yunji raised his head and looked. This is the most powerful martial saint, Ting Qingshan? He couldn't help but feel shocked. Just by looking at the appearance, he couldn't imagine that the person in front of him was actually the most powerful person below the martial immortals. He was even stronger than his teacher, Mu Wang. The strong wind created by the swooping whole gale eagle swept up a cloud of dust. Ting Qingshan leaped down. Brother Ting. Mu Wang walked over with a smile. Big brother Mu. Ting Qingshan also called out with a smile. At this moment, Mu Yunji was still scrutinizing Ting Qingshan. From Ting Qingshan's appearance, eyes, and temperament, he could feel that Ting Qingshan wasn't very old. Yunji, come here. Mu Wang instructed. Mu Yunji hastily walked over respectfully. Brother Ting, let me introduce you. This is my new follower, Mu Yunji. The great elder, Mu Wang, said proudly. Ting Qingshan smiled as he looked at the bald, one-armed young man before him. Even though both his arms were broken, he was still able to overcome many difficulties and reach the innate realm at the age of 29. Ting Qingshan admired such a persevering person. Yunji greets Mr. Ting. Mu Yunji bowed respectfully. Haha, let's not stand at the entrance and chat. I'm sure Brother Ting is anxious to see the dreamy cloud white fruit. Yunji probably wants to grow his arms back as well. Let's go in. If Brother Ting isn't here, teacher won't cure Yunji's arms. Mu Wang smiled and walked into the palace with Ting Qingshan. As for Mu Yunji, he followed behind. The three arrived at a secret room in the palace where the dreamy cloud martial immortal resided. The sunlight shone through the window. There was only a carpet in the room, and the dreamy cloud martial immortal was sitting cross-legged. A jade box was placed before him. Teacher. Senior. Lord Martial Immortal. Mu Wang, Ting Qingshan, and Mu Yunji bowed at the same time. Before the dreamy cloud martial immortal, even Ting Qingshan felt an indescribable pressure. The dreamy cloud martial immortal opened his eyes and saw the three people before him. He couldn't help but smile as he said, Haha Qingshan, last time I told you that the dreamy cloud white fruit would mature in 2 to 3 months and a year at most. I didn't expect that it would take a year for it to mature completely. I'm sure you must be anxious. Ting Qingshan smiled. Yes, let's not talk nonsense. Yunji must be very anxious. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled as he looked at Mu Yunji and instructed, Yunji, take off your shirt. Chapter 388. Ting Qingshan's 6 senses were very sensitive. He could even hear the heartbeat of Mu Yunji, who was beside him. I didn't have arms for 11 years. Now that I am going to grow arms, it would be strange if I wasn't excited. Yes, Lord Martial Immortal, Mu Yunji replied respectfully. At the same time, the surface of his body glowed with a green radiance, causing his clothes to bulge. Mu Yunji's body shrunk like a loach and came out of his clothes. Then, he withdrew his innate true origin, and the clothes on his body fell to the ground. Mu Yunji was now naked. You took off your clothes quickly. Ting Qingshan revealed a smile. Mu Yunji's upper body was very strong, but it was covered with scars. His arms and shoulders were bald. When the dreamy cloud martial immortal saw the numerous scars on Mu Yunji's body, he praised, "You lost your arms and can't use saber arts. However, you reached the innate realm at the age of 29. You have suffered a lot. However, Yunji, after you eat the dreamy cloud white fruit, all the scars on your body will disappear." Mu Yunji held his breath and sat cross-legged. The dreamy cloud martial immortal picked up the jade box in front of him. With a click, the jade box was opened, revealing a white baby-shaped fruit that was placed in a hole in the jade stone. This white fruit was like a fist-sized baby lying there, and its surface was covered with a green radiance. A strong fragrance pervaded the air. As expected of one of the three great spiritual treasures, the dreamy cloud white fruit. The great elder Mu Wang praised. When Ting Qingshan smelled this fragrance, he felt much more comfortable. "Now I will cut this dreamy cloud white fruit into 5 pieces." The dreamy cloud martial immortal took out a thin jade knife from the box. With the jade knife in his hand, he cut the dreamy cloud white fruit into 5 equal pieces. Then, he used his hand to grab a piece of the fruit and handed it to Mu Yunji. "Yunji, eat it," the dreamy cloud martial immortal said. "Yes." Mu Yunji's entire body trembled slightly. He took a deep breath, took over the piece of fruit, chewed it for a few times, and swallowed it down into his stomach. Mu Yunji widened his eyes and his face flushed. Crunch, a very unique sound that sounded like a mouse gnawing on something came from Mu Yunji's body. First, the scars on Mu Yunji's body quickly disappeared, and his skin became as smooth as a baby's. Subsequently, "Pa!" Suddenly, a crisp sound rang out. Mu Yunji's originally bald shoulders suddenly trembled. After that, his bones, flesh, and blood started to grow continuously. His arms continued to grow. The crackling sounds continued without end, and there were also bursts of sizzling sounds. It is indeed magical. The eyes of Mu Wang and the dreamy cloud martial immortal lit up, bringing the dead back to life. It's true. Ting Qingshan was dumbfounded as well. Severed limbs were growing out one after another. This was simply inconceivable. Whether it was his previous life or his current life in the land of the 9 prefectures, Ting Qingshan had never heard of it. He didn't expect that one of the 3 treasures of Duanmu continent, the dreamy cloud white fruit, would be so miraculous. Mu Yunji's arms continued to grow, and his flushed face revealed an ecstatic expression. His arms continued to grow at a constant speed. When they reached the crook of his arms, the speed decreased sharply. "It's about to stop," Mu Yunji said anxiously. He could clearly feel that the magical energy in his body was almost completely exhausted. "Eat this piece." The dreamy cloud martial immortal handed it over. However, Ting Qingshan's eyelids twitched as he looked at the contents of the jade box. The dreamy cloud white fruit was cut into 5 pieces. This was the second piece that Mu Yunji had eaten. Crunch, Mu Yunji hastily chewed the second piece and swallowed it. The speed of his growth, which had already decreased sharply, suddenly increased again. Mu Yunji's arms continued to grow, from the crook of his arms to the forearm. Then, he grew his wrist, and finally his palm. However, when his fingers began to grow, the speed of his growth decreased again. Just a little bit more. Mu Yunji stared at his hands. The speed of his fingers' growth was obviously much slower. "Don't be anxious." The dreamy cloud martial immortal was very calm. Ting Qingshan frowned as he watched. Mu Yunji's 10 fingers were growing simultaneously. The first knuckle had already grown, and the second knuckle was almost there as well. Yes, it had already grown. Right now, the third knuckle was slowly growing, and it was about to stop. Just a little bit more. The dreamy cloud martial immortal waved his jade knife, and cut off a finger-sized piece of flesh from one of the remaining 3 pieces of flesh. Eat it. The dreamy cloud martial immortal tossed the piece of flesh. Mu Yunji hastily opened his mouth and swallowed it. Chi-Chi, in one breath, all 10 fingers grew out. Seeing this, Ting Qingshan heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Fortunately, there are still 60% of the fruit left. This is more than half of it." "My hands, my arms." Mu Yunji, who was at the side, waved his arms lightly. He loosened his grip and loosened his grip repeatedly. After several attempts, he even formed a knife hand and waved it a few times. He couldn't help but reveal a pleasantly surprised expression as he said, "The meridians are undamaged, and there are no problems with the muscles and bones. It seems like there aren't any injuries at all." "Haha Yunji, this is the dreamy cloud white fruit. If it couldn't cure you completely, why would the dreamy cloud white fruit be called one of the 3 great spiritual treasures?" The dreamy cloud martial immortal laughed. "Thank you, Lord Martial Immortal," Mu Yunji said gratefully. The dreamy cloud martial immortal shook his head with a smile and said, "Don't just thank me. The dreamy cloud white fruit has its advantages." Qingshan spent 18 days searching the entire dreamy cloud swampland before he found it. If you want to thank someone, you should thank Qingshan. Mu Yunji looked at Ting Qingshan gratefully and said, "Yunji thanks Mr. Ting." After his arms were cut off, Mu Yunji didn't dare to think that his arms would grow back one day. "There is no need to thank me. Senior used a treasure to ask me to find the dreamy cloud white fruit," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. "Qingshan, the remaining dreamy cloud white fruit belongs to you according to what we agreed on at the beginning." After the dreamy cloud martial immortal placed the jade knife in the box, he closed the jade box. With a click, the jade box was locked. "There is a small mechanism in this jade box. Press this button and the box will open." Ting Qingshan extended his hand and took the jade box. He couldn't help but feel excited as he thought to himself, "With this dreamy cloud white fruit, my father's legs will be healed. My father will be able to stand up again." When he thought of returning to the land of the 9 prefectures and giving the dreamy cloud white fruit to his father, Ting Qingshan, and the joy his father would feel when he stood up again, Ting Qingshan's heart was filled with anticipation. Qingshan, none of the fruits that Yunji ate were wasted. They were just enough for him to grow back his arms. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a smile, "The remaining fruits contain about 60% of the flesh. It should be enough to heal your father's legs." "Thank you, Senior," Ting Qingshan said gratefully. This gratefulness came from the bottom of his heart. The dreamy cloud martial immortal waited for Ting Qingshan's arrival before letting Mu Yunji consume the dreamy cloud white fruit. Moreover, the dreamy cloud white fruit was very careful. It was obvious that the dreamy cloud white fruit was not wasted. For example, if the dreamy cloud white fruit was consumed, Mu Yunji would be healed. However, most of the energy would be wasted. "Yes. Qingshan, don't be in a hurry to leave. I have already ordered people to prepare a banquet." The dreamy cloud martial immortal stood up. Ting Qingshan, Mu Wang, and Mu Yunji stood up as well. In the spacious palace garden, the sky was the ceiling, and the earth was the seat. The dreamy cloud martial immortal, Ting Qingshan, Mu Wang, and Mu Yunji all sat cross-legged. There was a table in front of each of them, and plates of dishes were placed on the table. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, the great elder Mu Wang and Mu Yunji had already left. Ting Qingshan originally wanted to return to the crescent moon lake of the godly Axe Mountain with the whole Gale Eagle. However, the dreamy cloud martial immortal urged him to stay. "Qingshan, don't be in a hurry to leave. I still have something to discuss with you," the dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a smile. Ting Qingshan, who had already stood up, immediately sat cross-legged again. With a puzzled smile, he asked, "What's the matter, Senior? It has been 1 year since the last time we sparred. Last time, I felt that you had already reached the emptiness realm. However, you said you didn't reach the emptiness realm. 1 year has passed. Qingshan, have you reached the emptiness realm? The dreamy cloud martial immortal asked. The dreamy cloud martial immortal attached great importance to this. There were only 2 martial immortals in the entire Duanmu continent. If a third martial immortal appeared, the situation of the continent might change. Of course, the dreamy cloud martial immortal was concerned about this. Just a little bit more, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Qingshan, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a faint smile, I have been in the emptiness realm for more than 200 years. Although the Tao is indescribable, I can guide you a little. However, I can also guide you a little and not let you take too many detours. Ting Qingshan was secretly delighted. The dreamy cloud martial immortal's guidance? Senior, please tell me, Ting Qingshan hastily said. I can't teach you how to reach the emptiness realm. Even the godly axe deity and the thunder blade deity can't teach you. You have to comprehend it yourself. However, I can tell you. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a smile. The condition to reach the emptiness realm from the golden Dan innate realm is that you need to comprehend one of the myriad great Taos. Senior, what do you mean? Ting Qingshan was struck by a thought. For example, someone comprehended the ocean and cultivated the Tao of the ocean. When he completely comprehended this Tao, he would step into the emptiness realm. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said solemnly, Last time, when you competed with me, you used the Tao of water. Mu Wang told me that when you competed with him, you used the Tao of earth. Ting Qingshan nodded. When he competed with the Great Elder, Ting Qingshan used the transmutation unity law, which contained the earth elemental supreme force. It was not strange that the Great Elder could sense it. A person's comprehension and lifespan are limited. Therefore, don't be greedy. The dreamy cloud martial immortal said solemnly, For example, if you want to cultivate the Tao of water, you will step into the emptiness realm if you completely comprehend it. If you were to cultivate both the water Tao and the earth Tao, your concentration would be divided, and your attainments in both would be limited. You wouldn't be able to completely comprehend both. If you do that, you won't be able to reach the emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan was secretly shocked. Actually, after comprehending the 6 stone inscriptions for a year, Ting Qingshan's earth element fist reached the 8th move not long ago. He had an indescribable feeling. This feeling was very clear. As long as he created the 9th move, he should be able to completely control the earth element power. My feeling is right. Once I succeed, I will reach the emptiness realm. I have mastered the 9th move of the earth element fist. I should have completely comprehended the earth elemental Tao. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. The dreamy cloud martial immortal advised. Therefore, I will take this opportunity to remind you to focus on one path. The heavenly Tao was difficult to comprehend. Even if you were talented, you had to focus on it. Wait until you comprehend one Tao. It's not too late to comprehend other Taos after reaching the emptiness realm. He didn't know that, currently, Ting Qingshan had great achievements in the earth element fist, water element fist, metal element fist, and fire element fist. Among them, the earth element fist was the best. If the dreamy cloud martial immortal knew about this, he would probably be scared to death. The speed at which Ting Qingshan improved was indeed too shocking. The dreamy cloud martial immortal still didn't know how much benefit the 6 stone inscriptions brought to Ting Qingshan. Chapter 389. Thank you for your guidance, Senior. Ting Qingshan said gratefully. Although he had already guessed it before the dreamy cloud martial immortal told him about it, the dreamy cloud martial immortal's words confirmed his guess. Haha, I'm just reminding you. You have to rely on yourself to comprehend the heavenly Tao. The dreamy cloud martial immortal laughed heartily and said, However, I believe that with your comprehension and aptitude, Qingshan, it won't be a problem for you to step into the emptiness realm within 10 years. Mu Wang is not as strong as you, but I estimate that he will be able to step into the emptiness realm within 10 years. Great Elder Mu Wang stepped into the emptiness realm within 10 years? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Mu Wang was indeed much weaker than him. Yes. The dreamy cloud martial immortal smiled and nodded. A few years ago, he was only one step away from the emptiness realm. Therefore, at that time, I thought that Mu Wang was the strongest under the emptiness realm. Later on, when I found out that you defeated him, I was even more puzzled. In Duanmu continent, besides me and that person from the Tianfeng clan, how could there be anyone else who could defeat Mu Wang? That's why I challenged you the last time we met. Haha, Qingshan, I didn't expect that you, who have yet to reach the emptiness realm, could display a strength that is close to the emptiness realm. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said with a laugh. Ting Qingshan smiled. The combination of his body and the supreme force could reach 1,600,000 jin. It was 2 times the explosive power of Mu Wang's innate gold dan. If a true expert was a bit stronger, then the victor would be decided. Compared to his opponent, his explosive strength was 800,000 jin higher. If he still couldn't win, then he wouldn't be qualified to fight against Qing Hu Island in the future. Senior, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Ting Qingshan cupped his hands and said, Yes. Cultivate well. When you reach the emptiness realm, I still have something to discuss with you, the dreamy cloud martial immortal said. All right. When I reach the emptiness realm, I will definitely look for Senior. Ting Qingshan said with a smile. However, he thought to himself, emptiness realm? After attaining the emptiness realm, he would leave Duanmu continent and return to the land of the 9 prefectures. But he was also puzzled. Did the dreamy cloud martial immortal have something to discuss with Ting Qingshan? What is it? According to what the dreamy cloud martial immortal said, he has something important to do after reaching the emptiness realm. But it seems like it's not a bad thing to say this in advance. Ting Qingshan pondered for a while and said, Yes. Duanmu continent currently has 2 martial immortals. One is the dreamy cloud martial immortal of the Rising Sun Trading Company, and the other is the Tianfeng martial immortal of the North. If I reach the emptiness realm, I reckon that the situation in Duanmu continent will be affected. He probably wants me to talk to him because he wants me to help him. Ting Qingshan thought for a while and had some guesses. Screech, the whole Gale Eagle let out a cry and spread its wings, carrying Ting Qingshan on its back as it flew towards the southeast direction. After getting the dreamy cloud white fruit and returning to the crescent moon lake of the godly Axe Mountain, Ting Qingshan resumed his usual routine. Every day, he would spend most of his time studying the 6 stone inscriptions, converting some of his comprehensions into his own fist technique. Although the dreamy cloud martial immortal wanted Ting Qingshan to specialize in one Dao, Ting Qingshan didn't do so. Now, he had created the 8th move of the Earth Elemental Fist. According to Ting Qingshan's hazy feeling, he would be able to step into the emptiness realm after creating the 9th move. However, the stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms, especially the 3 consecutive inscriptions, contained the Earth Elemental Dao, the Metal Elemental Dao, and the Fire Elemental Dao simultaneously. If Ting Qingshan wanted to comprehend the Earth Elemental Dao from the 4 stone inscriptions, he must have sufficient achievements in the Metal Elemental Dao and the Fire Elemental Dao. Of course, Ting Qingshan could also not rely on the 4 stone inscriptions. He could comprehend the heavens and the earth by himself and create the 9th move. However, there were pros and cons to this. If he didn't study the 4 stone inscriptions, there would be no shortcuts, and his progress would be slow. Similarly, if he specialized in the Earth Elemental Dao, he wouldn't waste time on the Fire Elemental Dao and the Metal Elemental Dao, he would save time. If he combined the 2, it was impossible to determine whether this would be faster or slower. If he studied the 4 stone inscriptions, He would have achievements in 3 Dao. They complemented each other, and it would take time. Moreover, it might not be slow. If I didn't have the 4 stone inscriptions, I would probably choose to specialize in 1 Dao and reach the emptiness realm first. However, I have 4 stone inscriptions. I should also study the other 2 Daos seriously. Ting Qingshan made up his mind. He had to admit that Emperor Yu was very powerful. He was able to divide one move into dozens of moves. Ting Qingshan was a grandmaster in his previous life. In this life, he created a fist art. His vision and comprehension were extremely high. The teacher was powerful and the learner was also powerful. With the two combined, Ting Qingshan's progress reached a terrifying level. 1 month after Ting Qingshan returned from the dreamy cloud ancient city. Snowflakes fluttered in the sky, but the official road at the foot of the godly Axe Mountain was crowded with people. As one of the 4 main roads around the world's largest city, Nanshan City, there were still many people coming and going even though it was snowing. A chubby youth was holding a bamboo pole and walking on the snow beside the official road. He wore a thick cotton coat and a gray felt hat, and carried a short saber on his back. After walking for a while, he looked up at the godly Axe Mountain and mumbled, "In the forest north of the godly Axe Mountain, beside the crescent-shaped lake?" Immediately, the chubby youth supported himself with the bamboo pole and left the official road, walking towards the nearby forest. It was rare for Ting Qingshan to go out of the mountain today. Li Jun happily prepared a sumptuous meal. On this day when snowflakes covered the sky and covered the earth, Ting Qingshan and the others ate the piping hot meal in the house. "Big brother Ting, how long will it take before we return to the land of the 9 prefectures?" Li Jun asked. 1.5 years if it's fast, 2 or 3 years if it's slow, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Little Ping, who was holding a bowl of rice, asked curiously, "Uncle, how far south is the land of the 9 prefectures?" "It's quite far. It's even further than the island where the Lu clan of the Dark Steel River was. However, if we hurry we can arrive in 10 to half a month," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Ting Qingshan added in his heart, 10 to half a month? That's the time needed to ride on the 6-legged blade-like chi. Yes, Ting Qingshan planned to ride on the back of the 6-legged blade-like chi when they returned to the land of the 9 prefectures. With the 6-legged blade-like chi's astonishing body length, it would be fine even if a dozen people sat on its back. With its speed that was much faster than the whole Gale Eagle, it could easily travel 10,000 li in a day. 100,000 li would indeed only take 10 to half a month. It had taken them nearly a year to reach the land of the 9 prefectures. However, it would only take 10 to half a month to leave. 10 to half a month? That's quite far. The island of the land of the 9 prefectures is about a few thousand li away from Duanmu continent. Little Ping said emotionally. Island? Ting Qingshan and Li Jun looked at each other and smiled. If the land of the 9 prefectures was an island, then Duanmu continent would be a small island. Little Ping, Ting Shou, Ting Qingshan, and Li Jun didn't tell them about the real situation of the land of the 9 prefectures. They only told them that they came from a place called the 9 prefectures. This 9 prefectures was located in the south of Duanmu continent. It would take about 10 to half a month to travel by sea. Yes, someone is coming. Ting Qingshan's ears twitched. Ah Shou, open the door. Ting Shou immediately opened the door with a whoosh sound. Phew, the cold wind blew the snowflakes into the room. Ting Qingshan and the others looked through the door and saw a chubby youth at the edge of the forest. The chubby youth supported himself with a bamboo pole and walked on the snowy ground. A youth. Ting Qingshan was slightly puzzled. It seems that he doesn't know inner strength. Li Jun was also puzzled. It was obvious that he didn't know inner strength since it was so difficult for him to walk on the snowy ground. Big brother Ting, could it be that he wants to be an apprentice? Li Jun smiled and said, I don't think he has reached the innate realm. In Duanmu continent, there were many people who wanted to be apprenticed to Ting Qingshan. Moreover, many people knew that the first requirement to be apprenticed to the martial saint, Ting Qingshan, was to reach the innate realm. With such harsh requirements, Ting Qingshan only had Ting Shou as his apprentice after so many years. I have never seen a silly youth running here to be apprenticed to an apprentice. Ting Qingshan smiled. Those who knew that Ting Qingshan lived in the crescent moon lake of the godly Axe Mountain were well-informed and capable people. You. The youth, whose face was red from the cold, walked over and stared at Ting Qingshan and the others with wide eyes. Which one of you is Mr. Ting? The youth asked nervously. Uncle, we are really looking for you, little Ping said with a smile. Ting Qingshan also looked at the youth in astonishment and said with a smile, Little fellow, why are you looking for me? The chubby youth scrutinized Ting Qingshan, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. You are Mr. Ting? Yes, I am. Who are you? Ting Qingshan said with a smile. The youth took a deep breath and said, I am Yang Dong. Yang Dong? Li Jun, Little Ping, and Ting Shou were slightly puzzled. Who is Yang Dong? Ting Qingshan was also puzzled. He didn't know anyone named Yang Dong. My father asked me to look for you, Mr. Ting, the youth said nervously. Li Jun, who was at the side, smiled and asked, Little fellow, who is your father? Ting Qingshan's heart moved. My father is Yang Wang, the youth said. Yang Wang. The four people present were shocked. Coachman Old Wang, who had also followed Ting Qingshan, had said that his name was Wang Yang, but in the letter he left behind, he had said that his real name was Yang Wang. You are Yang Wang's son? Ting Qingshan stared at the youth in astonishment. Old Wang's son. Li Jun was also shocked. She hastily said, Child, the world is so chaotic. You are traveling alone. Aren't you afraid of being killed by bandits? Quick, come in. It is snowing heavily and very cold outside. Come in quickly. Li Jun hastily led the chubby youth in. The fact that he could say the name Yang Wang showed that he was trustworthy. After all, only Ting Qingshan and a few others knew that Old Wang's name was Yang Wang. Where is your father? Ting Qingshan hastily asked. The youth named Yang Dong, who had just sat down, hastily took out a neatly folded letter from his bosom and said cautiously, Mr. Ting, this is the letter my father asked me to give to you. Old Wang's letter? Ting Qingshan extended his hand and took the letter. We are already here. Why are you still holding the bamboo pole? Li Jun grabbed the bamboo pole in Yang Dong's hand and was about to throw it. Little Jun, don't throw it. This is this little fellow's weapon. Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Weapon? Li Jun was astonished. Yang Dong, who had always looked adorable and simple, couldn't help but reveal a hint of astonishment in his eyes. P.S. Chapter 1 is here. Chapter 390. Today was the second night watch. Although Yang Dong had heard his irresponsible father talk about this amazing boss before, he had never heard of it before. He had also said that his master was an unparalleled expert who was unrivaled in the entire Duanmu continent. Below the martial immortal realm, his master was invincible in the entire Duanmu continent. Only the two martial immortals were stronger than his master. Even though he knew, Yang Dong was still shocked when he heard what Ting Shou just said. How was it possible for the other party to determine that the bamboo pole was his weapon with just a glance? Could it be that he could predict the future? Yang Dong was completely frightened. Big brother Ting, is this his weapon? Li Jun was also shocked. Little Ping, who was beside her, also had a puzzled expression. Only Ting Shou walked to the bamboo pole and sniffed. He whispered, There's the smell of blood. Yang Dong looked at Ting Shou in astonishment. After following Ting Qingshan for more than a year, Ting Shou had grown a lot taller. Now, he was over 8 meters tall. Although he was slightly shorter than Ting Qingshan, he was still considered a young man, not a teenager. He. Yang Dong looked at Ting Shou, completely dumbfounded. Is his nose a dog's nose? His bamboo pole was stained with blood, but he had washed it off. Moreover, the bamboo pole had been stabbed in the snow along the way, so there was no smell of blood on it. At least, with his nose, he couldn't smell any blood at all. Big brother Ting, what weapon is this? As Li Jun spoke, she held the bamboo pole in her hand and observed it carefully. She seemed to have found something and suddenly pulled. The tip of the bamboo pole was pulled open and a sword was pulled out. To be precise, it could only be considered a piercing sword. I see. Li Jun suddenly understood. It turned out that the tip of the bamboo pole had been cut open. The tip was the handle and the tip was the scabbard. The piercing sword was very strange. The entire blade was like an iron rod, very smooth and round. On the other hand, the tip of the spear was extremely sharp. In other words, this piercing sword had no blade, only a sword tip. To kill, there was only one move: piercing. I have never seen a weapon like this, Li Jun exclaimed. A sword that can only be used to kill by piercing? When old Wang carried a saber on his back, his weapon was a tobacco pipe. His son was one step closer. He is carrying a saber on his back, but his weapon is hidden in a bamboo pole. Ting Qingshan glanced at the letter and immediately opened it, reading it carefully. As soon as he saw the handwriting, Ting Qingshan determined that it was written by old Wang. Boss, if you read this letter, I, old Wang, will have no regrets even if I die. At least my son is with you. I spent some money and arranged for Dong to join a caravan on the way to Nanshan City. I was worried that something would happen to him along the way. However, boss, in Duanmu continent, besides you, I don't know who else I can ask for help from. I don't ask for anything else. I just hope that the owner can help settle him down. At the very least, let Dongzi have some food to eat. Boss, I didn't take care of him for the past few years. When I found him after a year, he was already mixed in with a gang of horse bandits. Furthermore, he has a very strange sword technique of his own. According to my investigation, it should be a sword technique that Dong Zi figured out himself. Although it looks simple, Dong Zi relied on this sword technique to become the third boss of that small gang of bandits. I feel that Dong is quite talented in sword arts. I owe this son of mine a lot. Back then, boss, you taught me that green lotus sword art. I really want to teach him, but boss said that without your permission, I am not allowed to teach it to anyone else. Boss is much more powerful than me. Boss, you can take a look. If Dong is talented, boss, teach him a few moves so that he can have someone to rely on in this chaotic world. If Dong is not talented, boss, you can arrange a place for him. Old Wang's request might be a little excessive. I hope boss won't mind. As for me, I want to finish what I have to do. This time, I don't know if I will live or die. I don't care about anything except my son. I can also see that boss is very concerned about little Ping, Ah Shou, and me. However, I want to say, boss, don't send anyone to look for me. Even the Rising Sun Trading Company can't find me. Just like you said, I have to make a choice that I won't regret. I have already made my choice. This letter made Ting Qingshan's heart sink as he read it. Just as old Wang had guessed, when Ting Qingshan saw this letter, he immediately wanted to look for old Wang. Little June, stay here. I am going to Nanshan City, Ting Qingshan said. Now. Li Jun was slightly stunned. The chubby youth, Yang Dong, said in a deep voice, Mr. Ting, there is no need to go. My father said not to look for him. You know about your father? Ting Qingshan stared at him. I only know that he is going to kill. Yang Dong shook his head and said, I don't know anything else. However, it seems that the enemy is very powerful. I couldn't even last one move against my father. Old Wang learned the Azure Lotus sword art that Ting Qingshan taught him. This sword art was the sword art that Ting Qingshan had created after comprehending the celestial jade annulus. The azure lotus sword art focused on the word illusion. It was like a blooming lotus, and the sword art was as fast as a dream. Whether it was in the land of the 9 prefectures or Duanmu continent, this sword art could be considered as the best sword art. Old Wang himself was at the peak of the post-liminary realm. With this sword art, he could even be listed in the earthly ranking in the land of the 9 prefectures. It wasn't strange that Yang Dong couldn't last one move. "Big brother Ting, what happened?" Li Jun hastily asked. "You will know when you read it." Ting Qingshan handed over the letter in his hand and said, "Yes. Take good care of Yang Dong." With this, Ting Qingshan turned and left. In the violent snowstorm, every step that Ting Qingshan took covered a distance of 7 to 8 zhang. It was as if he was teleporting. With 2 flashes, he disappeared into the depths of the forest. This scene stunned Yang Dong. What kind of Qinggong is this? He had been a bandit for some time and had seen many powerful figures. However, he had never seen anyone as terrifying as Ting Qingshan. Yang Dong now understood what his father meant when he said that there were only a few peerless experts under the heavens. From the letter, Ting Qingshan could feel that old Wang was entrusting his orphan to him before his death. No matter what, Ting Qingshan had treated old Wang as a friend and a member of his family. Soon, Ting Qingshan arrived at the Rising Sun restaurant in Nanshan City. In the mansion behind the Rising Sun restaurant, Mr. Ting Qingshan, the 6th elder, hastily welcomed Ting Qingshan into the hall. As soon as he entered the hall and sat down, Ting Qingshan said solemnly, "6th elder, I have a favor to ask of the Rising Sun Trading Company." "Mr. Ting, please speak." The 6th elder's eyes brightened as he hastily said. The elders had already received an order. If Ting Qingshan came to ask for a favor, they must do it well. Actually, experts like Ting Qingshan rarely asked for favors. To be able to serve such an expert was something to be happy about. "The name of my coachman, Old Wang, was Yang Wang. I hope that the Rising Sun Trading Company can help me find this person." Ting Qingshan said, "The more information about him, the better." "Yang Wang." The 6th elder frowned and said, "Mr. Ting, I remember your coachman. He had a lame leg and one eye. He looked like an honest person. However, just his name, there are too many people with the same name in this world. It will be troublesome to find him." Ting Qingshan frowned and asked, "Even the Rising Sun Trading Company can't find him?" "No, we can find him." The 6th elder explained. "However, the more information Mr. can provide about Yang Wang, the faster we can find him." Ting Qingshan pondered and continued, "This Yang Wang is an expert swordsman, and his strength is at the peak of the post-liminary realm. His son is called Yang Dong. His son should be around 12 or 13 years old this year. He has an enemy, and the enemy's influence should not be small." The 6th elder nodded and said with a smile, "The peak of the post-liminary realm? It will be easier to find him now. Mr. Ting, don't worry. If we are fast, we can find him in 3 days. If we are slow, 10 days to half a month will be enough. If we can't find him in 10 days to half a month, then this information might be fake. Then I will wait for your news." Ting Qingshan nodded and responded. After reading the letter, Ting Qingshan, Li Jun, and the others were all worried about old Wang. However, Ting Qingshan and the others couldn't do anything for now. On the evening of the 3rd day, the snow stopped. The war house stopped by the crescent moon lake. Dozens of tall and sturdy cavalrymen with solemn expressions pulled the reins. Just by standing there, the dozens of cavalrymen gave off a murderous aura. It was obvious that they were veterans. In front of them stood a skinny silver-haired elder. "6th elder, thank you for coming so late." Ting Qingshan, who had been called out by Li Jun from the belly of the mountain, greeted the elder. "I usually have nothing to do." The 6th elder said with a smile, Oh, didn't Mr. Ting want to find information about a person named Yang Wang? The Rising Sun Trading Company has already found him, and the information is recorded here. As he spoke, he handed a thread-bound book to Ting Qingshan. Yang Wang, Li Jun, Little Ping, and the youth named Yang Dong all stared at him. Ting Qingshan took the book and started reading carefully. As he read, Ting Qingshan's understanding of old Wang deepened. Yang Wang was 43 years old. When he was young, he was a homeless beggar. Later on, he was adopted by a kind couple. However, in this chaotic world, the life of this kind couple became more and more difficult. Yang Wang was a filial son. As he grew up, he tried to earn money to take care of this couple. From an unknown place, Yang Wang obtained a secret manual of inner strength cultivation. As his inner strength grew stronger and stronger, and he cultivated a powerful sword art diligently, Yang Wang was able to bring his adoptive parents into Tianfeng City and became a first-class guard of a large merchant. Since then, Yang Wang's life changed and he lived a good life. Because of this, his adoptive parents lived a good life. Soon, the 30-year-old Yang Wang got married. He married a beautiful wife named Wu Shuang. Life was wonderful, and they had a son the following year. However, the good life only lasted for 2 years. Helian Haodong, the hedonistic son of the Tianfeng clan in Tianfeng City, coveted Yang Wang's wife. While Yang Wang was escorting a large merchant to do business, Helian Haodong and Yang Wang's wife got together. Yang Wang's wife, Wu Shuang, was quite capable. She attracted Helian Haodong, and even Helian Haodong wanted to take her as his concubine. When Yang Wang came back and found out about it, he couldn't help but be enraged. He wanted to kill the shameless slut. However, Helian Haodong barged into the Yang clan. When he saw the situation, he immediately sent people to protect Wu Shuang and ordered to kill all the members of the Yang clan. Yang Wang's adoptive parents, who couldn't resist, died on the spot. Yang Wang, who had just turned 2 years old, luckily escaped with his life. So that's how it is. His enemy is actually the Tianfeng clan. No wonder he didn't tell me. Ting Qingshan's heart sank. Chapter 391. The third chapter. There were 2 martial immortals in Duanmu continent. One was from the Rising Sun Trading Company, and the other was from the Tianfeng clan. Ting Qingshan completely understood why old Wang didn't ask for his help. He didn't even mention it. It was obvious that old Wang didn't want Ting Qingshan to fight against the Tianfeng clan. Even if Helian Haodong was only a low-ranked disciple of the Tianfeng clan. No matter what, he was still a member of the Tianfeng clan. As for Ting Qingshan, he was the most powerful martial saint. If Ting Qingshan killed the members of the Tianfeng clan, it would be like slapping the face of the Tianfeng clan. At that time, the martial immortal of the Tianfeng clan would definitely consider the reputation of the Tianfeng clan and deal with Ting Qingshan. Old Wang's life. Sigh. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. He was a beggar since he was young. After being adopted by his foster parents, he struggled to eat and drink like an ordinary person. He was lucky enough to obtain an inner strength secret technique. After cultivating arduously for over 10 years, he became a guard of a great merchant, married a beautiful wife, and had a son. However, tragedy befell him. His foster parents, who had raised him, died because of this. It would be strange if old Wang didn't hate Helian Haodong and his wife, Wu Shuang. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. Big brother Ting. Li Jun, who was at the side, said. Take a look. Ting Qingshan handed it over. Ting Qingshan turned and looked at the 6th elder, puzzled. 6th elder, according to this, old Wang was blinded in one eye when he fled. Why was he also lame when I saw him? We didn't find out why he was lame. The 6th elder shook his head and said, maybe he was injured somewhere and became lame, or maybe he was pretending to be lame. Pretending to be lame? Ting Qingshan pondered and nodded. Big brother Ting Qingshan, this old Wang. Li Jun raised her head and looked at Ting Qingshan. Her eyes were slightly red and tears could be faintly seen. He must have gone to Tianfeng City to seek revenge. However, he hasn't reached the innate realm yet. It would be very dangerous for him to seek revenge from the members of the Tianfeng clan. Before she could finish her sentence, the sixth elder turned pale with fright and hastily said, Mr. Ting, please don't cause trouble for the Tianfeng clan. Ting Qingshan looked at him. This Yang Wang is going to take revenge. He's just an ordinary warrior, it's a small matter. He couldn't be bothered to deal with the colossal Tianfeng clan. However, if an innate realm martial saint went to provoke the Tianfeng clan, the Tianfeng clan will definitely send an even more powerful innate martial saint to deal with the opponent. If someone like Mr. Ting were to act, then it would be troublesome. Currently, in the entire world, only the two martial immortals can defeat Mr. Ting. Mr. Ting, if you act, the Tianfeng clan will have no other choice. The Tianfeng martial immortal will definitely act. By that time, even the dreamy cloud martial immortal of the Rising Sun Trading Company won't be able to intervene. The sixth elder said helplessly, the Rising Sun Trading Company and the Tianfeng clan have an agreement. If the Tianfeng martial immortal comes to kill you for no reason, the dreamy cloud martial immortal can help. However, if you go and provoke the Tianfeng clan, then we won't be able to intervene. Ting Qingshan nodded. Different levels of strength would mean different things. Yang Wang was a nobody in this world. If he went to kill Helian Haodong, the higher-ups of the Tianfeng clan probably wouldn't even bother. Even if they wanted to chase after Helian Haodong, they would probably just send a few people. However, Ting Qingshan's status was different. Putting aside the fact that Ting Qingshan went to kill Helian Haodong, Ting Qingshan's arrival in Tianfeng City would probably attract the attention of the higher-ups of the Tianfeng clan. Ting Qingshan's every move was enough to attract the attention of all the great clans in this world. If he dared to kill a member of the Tianfeng clan and the Tianfeng clan didn't retaliate, it would be too embarrassing. I understand. Ting Qingshan nodded helplessly. After all, he hadn't even reached the emptiness realm. If he helped Old Wang, he would be harming Old Wang. Can the Rising Sun Trading Company help Old Wang? Ting Qingshan asked. We can only help secretly. The sixth elder said solemnly, however, we have to find him first. Right now, we don't know where he is hiding. Even for the Rising Sun Trading Company, it won't be easy to find one person in Tianfeng City, which has a population of over 1 million. Moreover, I think that if Yang Wang wants to kill Helian Haodong, he will definitely disguise himself. This will make it more difficult for us to find him. The sixth elder wasn't confident. Ting Qingshan nodded understandingly. Sixth elder, try your best. If you find him, help him secretly, Ting Qingshan said. Okay. I hope we can find him before he takes action. The sixth elder nodded. Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. Old Wang, you can only rely on yourself. Ting Qingshan wished Old Wang well. He understood Old Wang very well. Sometimes there was nothing to fear about death as long as one didn't regret it. After sending off the sixth elder, Ting Qingshan and the others weren't in a good mood. The teenager, Yang Dong, who had also seen the letter, squatted by the snow-covered crescent moon lake and remained silent. After hearing the sixth elder's words, Li Jun understood that Ting Qingshan really couldn't help. Yang Dong. Ting Qingshan wore a white cotton-padded jacket and stood on the snow-covered ground. Yang Dong, who was squatting on the ground, turned his head and looked over. Come here, Ting Qingshan ordered. Yes. Yang Dong immediately stood up and walked over. Ting Qingshan looked at Yang Dong and asked, You've never practiced inner strength? I've only practiced for a year, Yang Dong answered. At the same time, he felt somewhat puzzled and fearful. Even the elders of the Rising Sun Trading Company had to treat this master of his father with respect. Moreover, this master was the most powerful martial saint in the entire Duanmu continent. Why would such a person ask if he had practiced inner strength? Take him as a disciple? Yang Dong's heartbeat accelerated. He knew very well that if he could become the disciple of this most powerful martial saint, it would be like a carp leaping through the dragon's gate. From then on, his fate would undergo an earth-shattering change. Ting Qingshan said indifferently, "Use your own sword art to attack me." "Yes." Yang Dong nodded. Yang Dong held the bamboo pole with his left hand and supported himself. "Mr. Ting, my sword art is actually—" Before he finished speaking, his right hand swiped the tip of the bamboo pole with lightning speed and pulled out the strange rapier. He breathed as he pulled out the rapier and slashed horizontally in a strange wavy arc. "So that's how it is." Ting Qingshan's body strangely split into two. The rapier slashed a figure in front of him, and the figure slowly dissipated. "I didn't pay much attention last time. I didn't expect the rapier's body to be smooth and round, but the tip is flat and sharp. It's somewhat similar to the tip of a spear. The tip can cut a person's throat." Failing to slash horizontally, Yang Dong naturally took a step forward. At the same time, he spun and thrust forward. "Chi!" Ting Qingshan could faintly hear the sound of the air being pierced. Looking at Yang Dong's sharp eyes, Ting Qingshan smiled. Failing to slash horizontally, Yang Dong moved his feet slightly. The rapier followed the previous arc and suddenly made a reverse arc, thrusting towards Ting Qingshan again. Phew! Ting Qingshan actually created 3 figures in parallel. Yang Dong actually withdrew his sword and stood still. "That's all." Ting Qingshan looked at Yang Dong with a smile and said, "If you have more moves, then continue." "That's all. I only know these 3 moves. If I continue, it will be the same rapier." Yang Dong shook his head. Ting Qingshan looked at Yang Dong with interest and asked, "Tell me, what did you think of the 3 moves just now?" "No one taught me. When I was young, I was weak and couldn't wield a long spear. Therefore, I used a wooden stick and sharpened the tip of the short stick into a spear tip. Then, I used the wooden stick to stab the worms on the ground. My father wasn't around at that time, so I was fostered in a village. Those kids always bullied me. After fighting time and time again, I understood. Firstly, when fighting, one must be sudden and catch the opponent off guard. Secondly, one's moves must be fast, so fast that the opponent can't react. Thirdly, one's moves must be special and unexpected. This way, one can win. Therefore, I practiced drawing the sword diligently since I was 6 years old. Drawing the sword must be quick and sudden. When I drew the sword and slashed, it wasn't an ordinary arc. Instead, it was a wavy arc. Yang Dong knew that Ting Qingshan was testing him, so he didn't hold back. A true expert can instantly change the direction of his attack. However, I couldn't do it. Therefore, I practiced diligently and made the wavy arc slash a natural habit. When the time came, I would naturally attack quickly. The opponent thought that I was slashing at his neck, but suddenly, because of the wavy arc, the momentum of the sword lowered and slashed at his chest. There's also the rapier. It's also quick, simple, and unexpected. Yang Dong continued. Later on, I thought of hiding the sword so that the opponent wouldn't expect it. Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded. Actually, Ting Qingshan had noticed a lot about Yang Dong. For example, when he first saw this teenager named Yang Dong. At that time, Ting Qingshan felt that this was a simple and honest teenager. However, as an internal martial art cultivator, his 6 senses were very sensitive. When Yang Dong approached, he noticed that there was a bloody smell on Yang Dong's bamboo pole. When he looked carefully, he also noticed that there was a small crack at the top of the bamboo pole. This method of hiding concealed weapons was the most immature among the assassin training in his previous life. However, Yang Dong's three sword moves were drawing the sword, thrusting the sword, and thrusting the sword again. If it was an ordinary inner strength expert, he might really be tricked by these three moves. Disguise, sudden attack. Everything is in his bones. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. He knew these things since he was 6 years old, and he could even practice such a sword art. He knows how to disguise himself better than an ordinary adult, and he is also calmer. He practiced this sword art since he was 6 years old, and his perseverance is extremely high. He created these three simple moves, but they are extremely effective. His comprehension is also extremely high. His temperament, perseverance, and comprehension are all top-notch. Ting Qingshan nodded to himself. Actually, after finding out about Old Wang's situation, Ting Qingshan felt sorry for not being able to help Old Wang. Therefore, he wanted to make up for what he owed Yang Dong. If Yang Dong's talent was average, he could just teach him a few moves, and it would be enough. If Yang Dong's talent was high, then he would teach him well. During this investigation, Yang Dong's performance completely exceeded Ting Qingshan's expectations. No matter what his talent is, since his temperament, perseverance, and comprehension are all top-notch, he can definitely become a powerful expert. Ting Qingshan nodded and said, "Talent? If one's talent was poor, it could be changed by using spiritual treasures of the heavens and earth. Take Li Jun for example. She couldn't even cultivate inner strength, but her meridians were changed by spiritual treasures of the heavens and earth. Talent could be changed, but perseverance was very difficult to change. Yang Dong, are you willing to become my disciple?" Ting Qingshan asked. Yang Dong revealed a joyful expression. He hastily knelt down and said respectfully, "Yang Dong is willing to become teacher's disciple." Ting Qingshan revealed a smile and looked at Yang Dong, who was kneeling on the snowy ground. "From today onwards, Yang Dong, you are Ting Qingshan's second disciple." At the crescent moon lake of the godly Axe Mountain, Yang Dong officially became Ting Qingshan's disciple and became his second disciple. P.S. 3 chapters completed. Set a goal for yourself. 4 chapters tomorrow. Chapter 392. The Blazing Flame Territory was one of the 3 most perilous places in Duanmu continent. Volcanoes often erupted in the Blazing Flame Territory. A few volcanoes would erupt in a year. Along with the eruptions of the volcanoes, earthquakes and other natural disasters would occur. However, there were some ordinary mountain ranges and villages 800 miles away from the Flame Territory. To the south of the Blazing Flame Territory, there was an ordinary mountain range. This mountain range occupied an area of only 20 to 30 li, and there were many wild beasts in it. Many villages at the foot of the mountain range relied on this mountain range. In addition, there was a peak in the mountain range that looked like a bull's head. Therefore, this mountain range was named Bull's Head Mountain. An Ox Head Mountain. Keep up, keep up. Dozens of hunters were walking carefully in the mountains. "We'll reach the canyon in half a mile. Let's rest there," the leader of the hunters said in a low voice. Each of them was wielding a spear or a bow. These hunters had a good harvest. Many of them were carrying the blood-stained corpses of wild beasts on their back. It did not take long for them to reach the center of the canyon. The dozens of hunters heaved a sigh of relief. Because they were close to the Flame Territory, the temperature in the Oxhead Mountains was quite high. It was rare to see snow here. "Drink some water." Many people hurriedly went to the stream in the canyon to fetch water. Ha! Ha! A young man was holding a long spear in his hand. Sometimes he would stab forward, and sometimes he would stab some small bugs on the ground. "Ha ha, second uncle, look at how motivated Ah Wu is. He still has the energy to practice his spear art even after running for half a day." Many of the hunters sitting on the ground began to laugh. The young man named Ah Wu scratched his head and chuckled before continuing to practice his spear. Awu is 13 this year. To be able to join our hunting squad, he will be the first man in our village in the future. Only by working hard now will you be able to protect our village in the future. The leader chuckled and looked at the young man with gratification. Suddenly, clang! The youth named Awu stabbed his spear into the ground again, but the sound of metal striking metal rang out from the ground. Many hunters frowned and looked over. This was definitely not the sound of a spear piercing into a rock. The youth, Awu, was also puzzled. He squatted down and opened up the sand. Soon, he found a blood-red stone. He turned around and raised the blood-red stone high up. Second uncle, take a look. What is this stone? This stone is very light, much lighter than ordinary stones. The group of hunters walked over and looked at the blood-red stone in confusion. None of them recognized it. Oh, was that the stone you stabbed earlier? Asked the leader of the hunter squad. Yes, that's it. Awu nodded, then placed the blood-red stone on the ground, and stabbed the spear in his hand again. Clang! The crisp sound was exactly the same as the previous one. That's it. Awu nodded again. The other hunters looked at the blood-red stone in amazement, especially the leader of the hunters. He picked up the stone and looked at it carefully. His face was filled with shock. Just now, when Awu stabbed his spear into it, there wasn't even a mark on the stone. What kind of stone is this? How is it possible that the spear didn't even leave a mark? The other hunters stared with their eyes wide open. They were well aware of the penetrating power of the spear. Even a normal rock could be pierced through. Even some heavy armors would be dented. Even if it was some precious and hard material, it could at least leave some marks. I really didn't. The group of hunters carefully looked at the stone, but they really didn't find any sharp marks. This stone must be some kind of treasure. The leader of the hunters said solemnly. Even the tip of the spear couldn't leave a white mark. This stone must be a rare and good item. Everyone, look around carefully. See if there are any more of these stones. If there are, dig some back. Yes. When the other hunters heard this, they immediately understood that this blood-red stone might really be a rare item. As for what kind of treasure it is, when we return, we can ask the chief. The chief is experienced and knowledgeable. He has been to the city many times and has seen many things. He should know. The leader of the hunters said solemnly. Second uncle, look. There's another one here. Someone dug out a blood-red stone from the sandy soil of the canyon. I have one here too. There's one here too. Everyone dug deeper and immediately discovered that there were many blood-red stones beneath the surface of the canyon. Moreover, there were quite a few of them. 2 months after Ting Qingshan accepted Yang Dong as his second follower, a huge storm was set off in the eastern flower region of Duanmu continent. An explosive piece of news spread from the eastern flower region to the entire Duanmu continent at an astonishing speed. Almost all the great clans in the entire continent knew about this news. That was, on the Oxhead Mountain, south of the blazing flame territory of the eastern flower region, a precious and peerless treasure was discovered, the fiery gilt steel ore deposit. The fiery gilt steel was one of the top materials used to forge weapons in the Duanmu continent. In the northernmost part of the Duanmu continent, someone once discovered the fiery gilt steel in the boundless sea. Because the Tianfeng clan dominated the northern frosty region, almost 90% of the fiery gilt steel in the world was in the hands of the Tianfeng clan. The hardness of the fiery gilt steel was much stronger than that of dark steel. Most importantly, the fiery gilt steel was very light. Normally, a set of dark steel heavy armor, dark steel battle boots, and dark steel helmet weighed 400 to 500 jin. Even an expert's agility would be affected if he wore a set of heavy armor that weighed 400 to 500 jin. Moreover, wearing it would consume inner strength to maintain it. Therefore, treasures like the dark steel heavy armor were usually worn by experts at the peak of the postliminary realm or the innate realm. However, The fiery gilt steel was different. The fiery gilt steel was very light. It was only slightly heavier than water of the same size. Dark steel was 10 times heavier than water of the same size. A set of full body armor made from the fiery gilt steel, along with a helmet and battle boots, would only weigh 3 to 4 jin. Even for some ordinary farmers, there were many who had the strength of 4 to 500 jin. It was easy for them to carry a set of armor that weighed 3 to 4 jin, not to mention some powerful warriors. Although those warriors did not deliberately train their bodies, the inner strength in their bodies was strong. After a long period of nourishing their bodies, it was normal for them to have the strength of 8 to 500 jin. Since it was so light, its defense was even stronger than that of dark steel. Even an emptiness Dan innate expert would not be able to pierce through the fiery gilt steel battle armor. It could be said that, if there was a large amount of fiery gilt steel, a terrifying cavalry unit could be built. Even an emptiness Dan innate expert would not be able to pierce through the fiery gilt steel armor. Even a true Dan innate expert would have to use all his strength to pierce through the armor. Who in the world could resist such a cavalry unit? Even the Tianfeng clan, which possessed 90% of the fiery gilt steel in the world, only had 60 sets of fiery gilt steel armor. However, the fiery gilt steel ore vein discovered in the Oxhead Mountains was astonishing. The amount of fiery gilt steel ore vein instantly caused all the great clans in the Eastern Flower region to go crazy. Even the great clans in the other regions of the Duanmu continent coveted the fiery gilt steel ore vein. For a moment, a storm was brewing in the Eastern Flower region. Everyone wanted to obtain the fiery gilt steel ore. Hiya! 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 Along with the loud shouts, over 10 armored cavalrymen rode on the one-horned warhouse. These one-horned warhouse were mostly red in color, with only a white stripe on both sides of their abdomens. Among the one-horned warhouse, the blazing silver-striped hoe was of the highest quality. Each of them was worth 50,000 taels of silver. In other words, over 10 warhouse were worth a few 100,000 taels of silver. Third uncle, the Tantai clan is the closest to the south. We should be the first to arrive at Nanshan City. One of the 2 cavalrymen was a cold-looking middle-aged man with a sturdy body. The other was a young lady with a melodious voice. She wore a helmet. Ching don't be careless. Tantai Huayan looked into the distance and said solemnly, "Currently, all the great clans have their eyes on the Eastern Flower region and the fiery gilt steel ore vein. It would be fine if there were only a few fiery gilt steel ores. However, if someone were to monopolize such a large ore vein and build an army of over 1,000 men, I'm afraid that apart from the martial immortals, no one would be able to stop such a terrifying army." "Yes." The young lady nodded. "I didn't expect that an ordinary mountain range like the Oxhead Mountains would have such a large ore vein. Unfortunately, it was discovered by a poor village. Once the news was leaked, all the great clans immediately knew about it. If the Tantai clan had discovered the ore vein, we could have been more careful and secretly excavated it without letting outsiders know. No matter how careful an ordinary village was, they still didn't understand the importance of the fiery gilt steel ores. Now, all the great clans in the Eastern Flower region want to occupy the fiery gilt steel ores." Tantai Huayan's gaze was sharp. "Some clans have joined forces. Even, some great clans in the Nanshan region and the West Tang region are secretly supporting some of the clans in the Eastern Flower region. I reckon that even the Rising Sun Trading Company and the Tianfeng clan are secretly involved. They will secretly control one of the clans to fight for the ore vein." The Rising Sun Trading Company and the Tianfeng clan were forces that could be found all over the world. Their hidden forces were extremely terrifying. The other was the sole overlord of the northern frosty region. Moreover, the 2 great martial immortals in the world belonged to these 2 great forces. The 2 clans had an agreement with each other. They couldn't openly fight for the ore vein in the Eastern Flower region. They could only secretly support some clans. After all, the fiery gilt steel ores were too important. If we want to fight for the fiery gilt steel ores, we need a strong army and powerful experts. Tantai Huayan said in a low voice. Qing the godly Axe Mountain's martial saint, Ting Qingshan, is rumored to be the most powerful person below the martial immortals. If we can invite him to join our Tantai clan will have a great chance of obtaining the fiery gilt steel ores. Qing don't throw a tantrum this time. Tantai Huayan hastily instructed. Tantai Qing, who was known as the most beautiful woman in the world, would indeed throw a tantrum when faced with the young masters who were pursuing her. Third uncle, I understand. Tantai Qing hastily replied. The Tantai clan had brought Tantai Qing along this time. It couldn't be denied that they wanted to use Tantai Qing to attract the legendary most powerful martial saint, Ting Qingshan. Hurry up. We must rush to the godly Axe Mountain in Nanshan City. If the other clans invite Ting Qingshan first, it will be troublesome. Tantai Huayan suddenly cracked his whip. The flaming silver line Ho immediately roared and sped up. The other horsemen also whipped their whips. The Ho dashed forward, leaving behind over 10 afterimages. In an instant they disappeared at the end of the road. At the same time, several forces were rushing to the godly Axe Mountain in Nanshan City. Their goal was the same. They all wanted to invite Ting Qingshan. Of course, they had prepared enough treasures to invite this most powerful martial saint. Chapter 393. The second night. The sun shone on the earth. The crescent moon lake was still covered in ice and snow. A chilly air pervaded the air. Ha! Ha! Yang Dong, who was wearing a leather jacket, leaped and pounced. He seemed to have become a wild beast. He was practicing the 12 forms of Xing-Yi that Ting Qingshan taught him. The 12 forms of Xing-Yi was the foundation of the Xing-Yi internal martial arts, so he naturally had to practice hard. His senior martial brother Ting Shou, who grew up among wild beasts, mastered the 12 forms of Xing-Yi in just a few days. Clop! 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 The sound of hooves rang out. Yang Dong stopped practicing and looked up. He saw over 10 blazing silver house stop, and over 10 horsemen leap down. These Warhouse. Yang Dong's pupils shrank, and he was secretly shocked. Young brother. The leader of the horsemen took off his helmet and cupped his hands as he said with a smile, "May I ask where Mr. Ting is?" Normally, the superior Tantai Huayan would not be so polite to an ordinary youth. However, this was the crescent moon lake of the godly Axe Mountain. It was not a place for them to act presumptuously. "You are looking for teacher?" Yang Dong asked in surprise. "So you are Mr. Ting's disciple." Tantai Huayan smiled and said, "You are indeed a heroic youth. We rushed over from the eastern flower region to pay our respects to Mr. Ting. Please pass the message." The tall woman beside Tantai Huayan also took off her helmet, revealing a beautiful face that could captivate people. Her long hair was spread out, and her skin was so tender that it seemed as if water could come out of it. In particular, her soul-stirring eyes were like pools of limpid autumn water. Yang Dong, who had suffered hardships since he was young and experienced the coldness and chaos of the world, believed that he would not be tempted by beauty. However, at this moment, he could not help but hold his breath. So beautiful! Yang Dong felt his head buzzing. Seeing this, Tantai Qing smiled and said softly, "Young brother, we are here to see Mr. Ting. Please pass the message." This soft voice seemed to melt into one's heart, and Yang Dong felt as if he was floating. At this moment, a young girl walked out of the house and asked, "You are here to see Mr. Little Ping?" Yang Dong immediately sobered up. He couldn't help but curse himself for being bewitched by a woman. When Little Ping was 9 years old, she had followed Ting Qingshan for more than a year. Because she had eaten well, the originally malnourished and thin girl had now become a pretty and lively young girl. She was only a head shorter than Li Jun. Girls had always developed earlier than boys. At this time, Little Ping's body was growing. Everyone. Little Ping smiled as she looked at the members of the Tantai clan and said, "My lord is currently in closed-door cultivation. He has already instructed that no one is allowed to disturb him during his cultivation. Gentlemen, please go back. Little miss, please pass on the message." Tantai Huayan smiled as he handed over a golden melon seed. Little Ping didn't take it. Instead, she smiled faintly and said, "Everyone, I've already said it very clearly. No one is allowed to disturb Master's cultivation, so we can't go and see Master. If you really want to see him, you can wait here. When the Lord was cultivating, he would occasionally come out. As for the others, we can't do anything about it." With this, she turned and walked towards the stone house. What she said is true. If you want to see him, you can wait here. With this, Yang Dong walked back into the house. Ting Qingshan had indeed instructed. If it was someone he knew, such as the great elder of the Rising Sun Trading Company, they could interrupt his cultivation. As for outsiders, they could ignore them. For the current Ting Qingshan, the most important thing was to focus on cultivation and reach the emptiness realm as soon as possible. As for the matters of Duanmu continent, what did it have to do with him? After all, he still had to return to the land of the 9 prefectures in the future. Third uncle. Tantai Qing looked at Tantai Huayan, who was beside her. Tantai Huayan looked anxious as he said, "This is troublesome. The great clans of the Eastern Flower region will probably send people to the godly Axe Mountain in Nanshan City as soon as possible. Our Tantai clan has the geographical advantage, and can be the first to arrive. However, the various clans must be using superior one-horned warhouse, which can cover a few thousand li in a day. They will at most be 1 to 4 hours slower than us." They were all in the Eastern Flower region, and were not too far away from each other. Ting Qingshan is actually cultivating in seclusion. Tantai Qing frowned. She was like a delicate flower that needed people's pity. She indeed had a charm that made people's hearts tremble. However, Ting Qingshan was cultivating in seclusion and couldn't see her at all. Inside the stone house, Li Jun was wearing a thick fur coat and sitting on a chair draped with animal skins. She was knitting clothes with a peaceful smile on her face. This was the clothes she was knitting for Ting Qingshan. "Little Ping, are those people still outside?" Li Jun stopped and stretched, revealing the graceful curves of her body under the fur coat. Little Ping looked outside through the window and nodded. "Sister Jun, those people are still outside." "What's wrong?" Li Jun asked in surprise. "The Thunder Blade Martial Saint, Mr. Fu, is here." Little Ping looked outside through the window and said in surprise, "Mr. Fu Dao?" Li Jun put down the clothes she was knitting and said, "Let's go and take a look." No matter what, Fu Dao and Ting Qingshan were old acquaintances and friends. By the crescent moon lake, the group of people from the Tantai clan had just waited for a while when Fu Dao appeared alone on his war hoe. "Haha, Tantai Huayan, you are really fast," Fu Dao said with a laugh. "Mr. Fu Dao, you are not late either." Tantai Huayan glanced at him and responded with a fake smile. At this moment, Li Jun walked out together with Little Ping. Although Tantai Qing was breathtakingly beautiful, Li Jun, who had a special temperament, and Little Ping, who had just grown up and was already showing a hint of elegance, were equally eye-catching when they walked together. "Mr. Fu," Li Jun greeted with a smile. "Miss Li," Fu Dao said with a smile. The expressions of Tantai Huayan and Tantai Qing from the Tantai clan changed slightly. They knew that the person closest to Ting Qingshan was a girl named Li Jun. "Greetings, Miss Li." Tantai Huayan and Tantai Qing spoke at the same time. As a beautiful woman, Tantai Qing naturally compared herself to Li Jun. With this comparison, Tantai Qing became even more confident. She obviously concluded that the woman closest to Ting Qingshan could not compare to herself. Mr. Fu is also here to see Big Brother Ting? Li Jun asked with a smile. Yes, there is an important matter. Fu Dao nodded solemnly. It is very important. Seeing Fu Dao being so serious, Li Jun nodded and said, Mr. Fu, please wait here for a moment. I will go and invite Big Brother Ting. With this, Li Jun walked towards the southern forest. This scene made the people of the Tantai clan understand that Ting Qingshan was not living in the stone house, but was cultivating in seclusion somewhere else. In just a moment, a young man wearing an azure leather coat, with his long hair hanging loosely over his shoulders and a face with some stubble, walked side by side with Li Jun. The appearance of this young man attracted the attention of the people of the Tantai clan and Fu Dao from afar. The breathing of many people of the Tantai clan quickened, and Tantai Qing's eyes brightened. The legendary most powerful martial saint, an extremely mysterious expert, his name was Ting Qingshan. Haha, Fu Dao, long time no see. From afar, Ting Qingshan's hearty laughter could be heard. It has indeed been a long time, but I am ashamed to say that I am here to ask for Mister's help. Fu Dao appeared very humble and polite. Seeing this scene, Tantai Huayan, who was at the side, sighed inwardly. The rumors were indeed not groundless. Just from the fact that the Golden Dan innate martial Saint Fu Dao was so respectful and courteous, one could guess how powerful Ting Qingshan was. These are? Ting Qingshan glanced at Tantai Qing and said with a smile, This must be Lady Tantai Qing. I saw you last time at the auction of the blunt vanadium stone tablets. Last time, I wanted to chat with Mr., but Mr. was busy fetching gold to buy the blunt vanadium stone tablets, so I didn't have the chance to chat with Mr. Tantai Qing smiled, and it seemed as if the surrounding scenery had brightened because of her. This time, I can finally chat with Mr. I am also very proud to be able to chat with the legendary most powerful martial saint. Ting Qingshan smiled faintly. It was undeniable that chatting with a beautiful girl was indeed relaxing and joyful. Moreover, this beautiful girl was very tactful. Fu Dao, are you and the Tantai clan here for the same matter? Ting Qingshan guessed and asked. Mr. is amazing. Fu Dao nodded. I wonder if Mr. has heard that a fiery gilt steel or vein has been discovered in the eastern flower region. Fiery gilt steel or vein. Ting Qingshan was somewhat puzzled. He had never heard of such a material. At least, in the land of the 9 prefectures, there was no such thing as a fiery gilt steel or vein. Yes, let's talk inside. Ting Qingshan was not the slightest bit impatient. At the same time, he glanced at the Tantai clan and said, The two of you, come in as well. Tantai Huayan and Fu Dao looked at each other, smiled, and followed Ting Qingshan into the house. In this spacious house that was specially used to entertain guests, there were many carvings on the walls. A few stone pillars even had reliefs of spiraling divine dragons. A large and smooth table was placed in the hall. Ting Qingshan, Fu Dao, Tantai Huayan, and Tantai Qing sat down. Fu Dao, what is this fiery gilt steel, or that you speak of? I really don't know anything about it, Ting Qingshan said. Tantai Qing couldn't help but glance at Ting Qingshan when she heard this. She said, as expected of the most powerful innate martial saint at such a young age. He is also the expert with the highest chance of becoming a martial immortal. He is indeed very hard-working. I reckon that he usually concentrates on cultivation and can't be bothered with these trifling matters. Tantai Qing secretly praised Ting Qingshan's ignorance. Humans were like this. If a small figure spoke the truth, others would laugh at him. However, if he was a big shot, others would turn black into white even if he was wrong. The fiery gilt steel ore is an extremely precious material used to forge armors and weapons. Fu Dao explained, in terms of hardness, it is much stronger than dark steel. Even a hollow Dan innate martial saint would find it hard to pierce through a thin layer of fiery gilt steel armor. Moreover, it is extremely light. It is much lighter than dark steel. A set of fiery gilt steel armor only weighs 30 to 40 jin. When Ting Qingshan heard this, he couldn't help but be shocked. An armor that weighs 30 to 40 jin? Even Hollow Dan innate experts can't break it? Ting Qingshan's heart was in turmoil. If my Gui Yuan sect used the elixir of the North Sea to create over 10,000 warriors at the peak of the post-liminary realm, then we could make over 10,000 warriors at the peak of the post-liminary realm, where armor that even Hollow Dan innate experts can't break. Then, who can stop this army of 10,000? It wouldn't be difficult to flatten Qinghu Island. Ting Qingshan immediately saw the special significance of the fiery gilt steel armor. It would play a terrifying role in the struggle for supremacy. Chapter 394. When I return to the land of the 9 prefectures in the future, the situation in the land of the 9 prefectures is much more chaotic than the Duanmu continent. The waters of the 9 prefectures were even muddier and deeper than this. If I want to annihilate Qinghu Island and replace it with my Gui Yuan sect, I will have to do so. Besides the competition between the Emptiness Realm experts, the Emptiness Realm experts also need a powerful army. Ting Qingshan knew this very well. If an Emptiness Realm expert, a lone Emptiness Realm expert, wanted to contend for hegemony, that would be a fool's dream. If a sect had an Emptiness Realm expert and a powerful army, it would be able to move unhindered in the world. Back then, the northeastern king, Hong Tian, led 80,000 Yuan iron cavalry and conquered more than half of the 9 regions. Although there was the strength of the northeast king, Hong Tian, but the 80,000 Yuan cavalry under him was the true sharp sword that could conquer the world. If I have the martial prowess of the northeast king, Hong Tian, and use the elixir of the North Sea and the fiery gilt steel to forge 10,000 innate cavalrymen, even if I can't conquer the land of the 9 prefectures, I can still create a large territory for the Gui Yuan sect and leave behind a foundation for the inheritance of the internal martial art. It won't be difficult. When Ting Qingshan thought of this, he couldn't help but feel ambitious. The fiery gilt steel battle armor that even a Hollow Dan innate expert couldn't break through. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call them Xiantian iron cavalry when they wore such armor. Even if there were hundreds of inborn experts, they would still be killed by the 10,000 steel cavalry. In the room, Fu Dao continued to speak. For so many years, the fiery gilt steel has been extremely rare in Duanmu continent. Moreover, 90% of the land was monopolized by the Tianfeng clan. Of course, even if he monopolized it, it wouldn't be much, because the total amount is too little. But now, in the Donghua domain, in the Oxhead mountain range near the Flame territory, a fiery gilt steel ore vein has been discovered. That is a huge ore vein, a fiery gilt steel ore vein. Fu Dao couldn't suppress his emotions any longer. Previously, in the village at the foot of the Oxhead Mountains, I casually dug up 1,000 jin of fiery gilt steel. This was enough to forge 30 to 40 sets of armor. What these villagers have excavated is only a small part of the surface of the vein. Ting Qingshan was secretly delighted when he heard this. No matter what, he had to think of a way to occupy a share of the fiery gilt steel or vein. Haha, Mr. Ting. Tantai Huayan, who was at the side, smiled and said, "There's no need to elaborate on the importance of the fiery gilt steel or vein. Currently, all the great clans in the Eastern Flower region want to seize this ore vein. However, it would be very difficult to obtain it. Apart from the army, the primordial martial sages were also needed. Therefore, Mr. Fu Dao and my Tantai clan have come to invite you." Ting Qingshan looked at Fu Dao in surprise. "Fu Dao, which family are you working for?" "I am from the Fu family," Fu Dao said. "The Fu family?" Ting Qingshan looked at him in surprise. "Otherwise, why did I spend so much gold to purchase that set of blunt vanadium tablets?" However, the Fu clan is not a major clan in the Donghua domain. We have only made a name for ourselves in the past year or two. Tantai Ching, who was at the side, smiled and said, Mr. Fu Dao should not be unduly humble. With the Thunderblade Martial Saint holding down the fort, the Fu clan's strength is just around the corner. Among the great clans in the world, there were very few Golden Dan innate Martial Saint. With Fu Dao, it would not be difficult for the Fu family to prosper. Suddenly, clack, 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 the sound of hooves came from outside. Tantai Huayan glanced outside and his expression changed slightly. He then smiled and said, Mr. Ting, we have arrived at the Wu clan. Wu clan? Ting Qingshan couldn't help but turn his head to look, and his expression changed. Among the group of people, there was a valiant and formidable-looking woman. She wore azure light armor, and carried a simple and unadorned longsword on her back. Ting Qingshan looked at the woman in the distance. In terms of temperament, this woman gave off a cold-blooded feeling. She was more similar to his wife, Kitten. As for appearance, although they were not exactly the same, they were about 70 to 80% similar. Seeing the martial saintess, Ting Qingshan's breathing quickened. After all, she was someone who was so similar to his lover in his previous life. She is the martial saintess? The strongest woman in Duanmu continent? Ting Qingshan thought to himself. When he was chatting with the elders of the Rising Sun Trading Company, the elders had also mentioned that Li Jun's appearance was very similar to the martial saintess. Their temperaments were even more similar. The martial saintess is here, Fu Dao said with a smile. The martial saintess and an elegant man walked over together. When they reached the door, the elegant man smiled at Ting Qingshan and said, Mr. Ting, I am Wu Baiwei, the patriarch of the Wu clan. This is my wife, Jiang Yan. Greetings, Mr. Patriarch Wu, you are really powerful. Tantai Huayan, who was at the side, smiled and said, There are many people pursuing the martial saintess. I didn't expect you to win her heart. The martial saintess glanced at Tantai Huayan coldly and said nothing. Uncle Wu is quite persistent as well. He pursued the female martial sage for 20 years. From the age of 20 to 40, Uncle Wu did not marry for 20 years. Last year, when you got married, this junior did not attend. Now I will congratulate the two of you, Tantai Ching said with a smile. Wu Baiwei listened and nodded with a smile. He had been pursuing the martial saintess for 20 years. This martial saintess is his wife? Ting Qingshan looked and said, Please sit down. Immediately, 6 people sat down at the table. Ting Qingshan, Tantai Huayan, Tantai Ching, Fu Dao, Wu Baiwei, and the martial saintess, Jiang Yan. Big brother Ting. Li Jun walked out from the side room and froze when she saw the martial saintess. The martial saintess also froze when she saw Li Jun. The two women looked at each other. Big brother Ting, this must be the martial saintess. Li Jun smiled and walked to Ting Qingshan's side. She placed the teapot and teacups on the wooden tray on the table. She then sat by the side and said with a smile, I heard that the martial saintess looks very similar to me. Now that I have seen her today, it's really very similar. The martial saintess's voice was slightly hoarse and deep. Everyone. Ting Qingshan's gaze swept across the people present like a sharp sword. I already know why you are here. The fiery gilt steel ore deposit has been discovered, and all of your clans want it. Therefore, you are here to ask me to help you. I really want to know, why should I help you? Ting Qingshan went straight to the point. I heard that Mr. Ting likes Emperor Yu's 36 splitting mountain forms very much, so the Wu clan prepared one for you. If Mr. Ting is willing to help, the Wu clan can lend this stone inscription to Mr. for 10 or even 20 years, Wu Baiwei said with a smile. 36 splitting mountain forms stone inscription? Ting Qingshan cast a glance at Wu Baiwei. Among the 6 stone inscriptions he obtained from the Rising Sun Trading Company, the adjacent 4 forms belonged to the middle 4 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms, which were extremely difficult. Ting Qingshan hoped to obtain some of the more advanced forms. Which form? Ting Qingshan asked. The 27th form, Wu Baiwei answered with a smile. When Ting Qingshan heard this, he couldn't help but sneer inwardly. He already felt that the 17th to 20th forms were difficult, so what about the 27th form? Even if he obtained it, he wouldn't be able to understand it. Mr. Ting. Tantai Ching looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and said with a voice that sounded like the gurgling of spring water, "The Tantai clan has also prepared a stone inscription of the 36 splitting mountain forms for Mr. If Mr. is willing to help the Tantai clan, Mr. can even borrow it for 100 years. Ting Qingshan looked over and asked, "Which form?" Tantai Ching smiled and said, "The 5th form." The 5th form? Ting Qingshan couldn't help but feel excited. The 36 splitting mountain forms started with the Earth Elemental Tao. In other words, the first form contained the Earth Elemental Tao, and later on, the Metal Elemental Tao was gradually integrated. According to Ting Qingshan's estimation, the 5th form should describe the more advanced parts of the Earth Elemental Tao. Mr. Fu Dao, who was at the side, smiled and said, "The Fu clan has also prepared a stone inscription for Mr. You have one as well?" Ting Qingshan was slightly surprised. Suddenly, Ting Qingshan understood. It was very difficult to damage the 36 stone inscriptions. Even if they were damaged, they would recover. However, there were only a few great clans in the world. There were probably many clans that had stone inscriptions. This time, even if they didn't have a stone inscription, they might have spent a great price to buy a stone inscription from another clan. Fu Dao, which stone inscription does your Fu clan have? Which form is it? Ting Qingshan smiled and asked. It's the 11th form, Fu Dao said. Oh! Ting Qingshan was pleasantly surprised. The 12th form was one of the 6 stone inscriptions he obtained from the Rising Sun Trading Company. Because the 12th form was very profound, Ting Qingshan had comprehended some things, but he couldn't study it further. Therefore, he turned to study the other 4 forms. With this 11th form, which is simpler than the 12th form but is connected to each other, my Earth Elemental Tao and Metal Elemental Tao will improve greatly. I might even be able to reach the emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan was secretly delighted. The 11th form and the 5th form of the Tantai clan would be very useful to him. Of course, the 27th form of the Wu clan would be useless. If Mr. agrees to help, once the Fu clan obtains this load, the Fu clan is willing to give Mr. 10% of the ores excavated, Fu Dao said. Immediately, the people from the Tantai clan and the Wu clan looked at Fu Dao in surprise. 10% of the fiery gilt steel ores? Mr. doesn't have a clan, so it's useless for you to have the fiery gilt steel ores. Wu Baiwei looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and said, "If Mr. needs the fiery gilt steel ores, once the Wu clan obtains it, the Wu clan is willing to give Mr. 20% of the ores excavated from the load." The pitiful Wu Baiwei didn't know Ting Qingshan had already rejected him in his heart. "Haha, I didn't expect everyone to arrive so quickly." A hearty laughter sounded as a figure quickly walked over. Yen Baisho. The people from the Tantai clan, the Wu clan, and the Fu clan were all shocked. Yen Baisho greets Mr. Ting. The rough-bearded man dressed in a white leather coat cupped his hands and said with a smile, "The Yen clan is located in the northern part of the eastern flower region. Although I traveled day and night, I still arrived later than them. However, the Yen clan is very sincere in asking Mr. for help." How sincere? Ting Qingshan smiled. He had a good impression of this rough man. Seeing this, Yen Baisho was secretly delighted and continued, "The Yen clan has already negotiated with another clan and gathered a total of 3 stone inscriptions of the 36 splitting mountain forms. If Mr. is willing to help the Yen clan, we are willing to lend these 3 stone inscriptions to Mr. for a few decades." This martial saintess did not come from Kitten's transmigration. Actually, the 9 prefectures cauldron had come together with Ting Qingshan. If Kitten had transmigrated, then it would be impossible for the 9 prefectures cauldron to fall into the hands of Ting Qingshan and allow Ting Qingshan to transmigrate. As for the existence of the martial saintess, she would be of use in the future. Yes, Tomato wanted to ask. My eyes are uncomfortable. Sometimes, the nerves in my eyelids will twitch slightly. This happens to both my left and right eyes, and it has been going on for more than half a day. Does anyone know what the problem is? Chapter 395. 3 Stone Inscriptions? Hearing this, Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. Beside him, Li Jun also revealed an expression of joy. There were 3 stone inscriptions. If nothing went wrong, these 3 stone inscriptions would definitely help him break through the final hurdle and step into the emptiness realm. The expression on Ting Qingshan's face caused the Wu clan, Tantai clan, and Fu clan to worry. Yan Baisho, on the other hand, was secretly delighted. It was indeed true that the legendary most powerful martial saint, Ting Qingshan, liked the 36 splitting mountain forms. Suddenly, dong, dong, dong. The ground trembled slightly. The group of people in the room couldn't help but turn their heads to look outside. The faces of the Tantai clan and the Wu clan didn't look good. It was obvious that another clan had arrived. Fu Dao revealed an expression of joy. The cavalrymen were very well behaved. They stopped at the place where the Tantai clan and the Wu clan were. Then, the 2 leading youths leaped off their war house and ran over. They obviously saw the large group of people gathered in the room. The 2 of them ran to the door and bowed respectfully. Fu Yunzhan and Fu Yufeng greet Mr. Ting. The 2 youths bowed and said, Fu Yunzhan? Fu Yufeng? Ting Qingshan couldn't help but think, both of them have the surname Fu? At this moment Fu Dao, who was sitting around the table, chuckled and said, this Fu Yunzhan is the current patriarch of the Fu clan. This Fu Yufeng is also an outstanding member of the younger generation of the Fu clan. I'm afraid that you'll be invited away by the other clans, so I'm going to travel alone. They are slightly slower than me. Actually, it only took the time to brew a cup of tea. However, with the speed of the high-grade warhouse, they traveled over 100 li in the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Haha, now, the Wu clan, Fu clan, and Tantai clan all have a few people here. Only I am alone. Ha. Yan Baisho couldn't help but laugh. It's useless to invite Mr. Ting with more people. However, among us, Brother Yan is the most well-prepared. 3 stone inscriptions. TSK. Brother Yan, you are really capable. I admire you. Wu Baiwei, who was sitting beside the martial saintess, said with a smile. However, his words caused the other 2 clans to feel a faint hostility towards Yan Baisho. After all, Yan Baisho's trump card was the greatest. Everyone, please sit down, Ting Qingshan said with a faint smile. At this moment, there were 3 people from the Fu clan, 2 people from the Tantai clan, 2 people from the Wu clan, 1 person from the Yen clan, plus Ting Qingshan and Li Jun, Mr. Ting. Tantai Qing smiled as she looked at Ting Qingshan. Our Tantai clan has come with sincerity. Although there is only 1 stone inscription, as for the other conditions, please state them. I believe that our Tantai clan will be able to satisfy Mr.'s request. Being persuaded by a peerless beauty in such a gentle manner, an ordinary person would have nodded his head stupidly. Before Ting Qingshan could say anything, with a hua sound, the curtain at the side door was pulled open. Little Ping stood prettily at the side door. Her gaze swept across the table before she stared fixedly at the person on the table. It was the man called Fu Yufeng. Little Ping, come here, Li Jun shouted with a smile. In Li Jun's heart, these guests were all outsiders. Little Ping was the sister she had been with day and night these days. However, Little Ping stared fixedly at Fu Yufeng. This handsome young man was confused by Little Ping's stare, and stared back at Little Ping in confusion. Little Ping's eyes reddened. "Third brother!" Little Ping suddenly shouted. "Phew!" Fu Yufeng stood up in astonishment and stared at Little Ping as well. He scrutinized her carefully and then said hesitantly, You are little sister?" Tears rolled down Little Ping's face and dripped onto the ground. As she called out, "Third brother," she immediately rushed to Fu Yufeng's side and hugged Fu Yufeng as she sobbed. "What's going on?" Everyone present was completely dumbfounded. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun also stared at the scene before them in astonishment. Fu Yufeng scrutinized the young girl who was hugging him. He stared at the young girl's face. The face of the young girl before him faintly overlapped with the face of the intelligent little girl in his memory. Fu Yufeng suddenly rolled up Little Ping's sleeves. As expected, there was a very faint birthmark on Little Ping's left wrist. "Little sister, you are really little sister. Little sister, third brother finally found you. I finally found you." Fu Yufeng hugged Little Ping tightly as tears flowed down his cheeks. "Third brother. Little sister." This pair of brother and sister, who had been separated for a long time, were currently hugging each other and crying bitterly in the house where many great clans had invited Ting Qingshan. "Yunzhan, this little girl is related to Yufeng?" Fu Dao asked in astonishment. Fu Yunzhan, who was at the side, whispered, "This little girl should be the same as Yufeng, a survivor of the Northern Marquis branch of our Fu clan. Back then, the Northern Marquis branch was brutally massacred and almost died out. Some of the women and girls were almost sold to brothels or became slaves. Almost all the men were killed. In the end, we only found 3 survivors, including Yufeng. I didn't expect that one of them was actually with Mr. Ting." Fu Dao nodded in understanding. The Fu clan was an ancient clan with an extremely long history. However, this ancient clan had suffered several catastrophic attacks. In order to prevent the entire clan from being destroyed, the ancestors of the clan separated the several branches. This way, even if one branch was destroyed, the other branches could still continue to exist. The various branches were helping each other in secret. When the Northern Marquis branch was attacked and massacred, it was already too late when the other branches received the news. In the end, they only found 3 survivors. One of them was Fu Yufeng. "Third brother, third brother." Little Ping raised her head and looked at Fu Yufeng. She hastily asked, "Where are father and mother? Big brother and second brother? And sister Lian and the others?" "They are all dead," Fu Yufeng whispered. Little Ping froze and stood on the spot in a daze. When she was young, she was the treasure of the clan. Moreover, she was very intelligent. Many of the older brothers and sisters in the clan liked this little sister. It was a pitch-black night when the disaster descended. Little Ping only saw a few of her clan's guards die, and she was captured and sold as a slave. She didn't know how many people in her clan died that night. Although she knew that her clan was finished, if the clan was finished, would some of her clansmen survive? After all, at least she was still alive. In her heart, she was still alive. Moreover, her third brother also appeared in front of her. Perhaps her other relatives were still alive. But the result was, they are all dead? Little Ping's face revealed a trace of pain. At this moment, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun understood what had happened. It was obvious that Little Ping had found her relatives, and the other relatives seemed to be dead. Actually, when they brought Little Ping along, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun had already realized that Little Ping's background was definitely not ordinary. "Everyone, please sit here for a while," Ting Qingshan said. The representatives of the various clans on the scene responded with a smile. "Little Ping, and this little brother, let's go inside and talk." Ting Qingshan and Li Jun led Little Ping and Fu Yufeng into the house at the side. Inside the house, Little Ping and Fu Yufeng were at the side. Little Ping asked many questions, while Fu Yufeng answered her at the side. At the same time, he fondled his sister's head dotingly. The disaster in the past made Fu Yufeng mature a lot. He worked hard and was able to hold a high position in the Fu clan. In his heart, the disaster in the past had always been a nightmare and a pain. Today, he finally saw his cute little sister. Seeing the scar on his little sister's face, Fu Yufeng guessed that his little sister had probably been sold as a slave. How much torture did that little princess-like person suffer after becoming a slave? Thinking about it, Fu Yufeng felt his heart ache. "Uncle." Little Ping recovered and looked at Ting Qingshan apologetically. "Uncle is happy for you," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Li Jun also looked at Little Ping with a smile. Little Ping nodded and said, "Uncle, Sister June, there are many things that I haven't told you. Actually, the disaster in the past was my biggest nightmare. I didn't want to tell you. Today, I will tell Sister June and Uncle that my name is Fu Yuping and I am a member of the Fu clan in the small city of Beiho. Sister June, Uncle, I hid it from you. I hope you won't be angry." Beiho City was one of the 108 ordinary cities in Duanmu continent. Fu Yuping. Li Jun pulled Little Ping over and held her in her arms. Her eyes were slightly red. She felt her heart ache. Sister is not angry. Why would I be angry? Li Jun's heart was filled with pity. She knew how painful it was for a clan to be massacred. Fu Yuping was different from her. Fu Yuping was just a little girl. To a child, it was definitely a nightmare. She probably didn't even want to recall it, let alone tell others about it. Moreover, she was sold as a slave. One could imagine the pain and torture she suffered. When she saw Fu Yuping for the first time, the 9-year-old Fu Yuping looked like a child of 6 or 7 years old. One could imagine how difficult her life was. "It's all good now. Little Ping, you found your third brother," Ting Qingshan comforted her. In the guest house, the Wu clan, the Tantai clan, the Yen clan, and the Fu clan were waiting anxiously. Everyone felt uneasy. "Mr. Fu Dao, your Fu clan is really lucky. Even a little girl from your Fu clan can follow Mr. Ting." Tantai Huayan smiled and said, "Maybe Mr. Ting will help your Fu clan for the sake of that little girl." Although this was what he said, the others didn't completely agree with him. In their eyes, Fu Yuping was just a servant girl of Ting Qingshan. Would a servant girl affect the decision of the fiery gilt steel or deposit? Hua! The curtains were pulled open, and Ting Qingshan, Li Jun, Fu Yufeng, and Fu Yuping walked out. "Everyone, please sit." Ting Qingshan smiled and sat down. "I am quite happy today that Little Ping was able to find her brother. Oh, let's continue. Yen Baisho, what are the 3 forms of the stone inscriptions your Yen clan prepared?" Yen Baisho hastily answered, "They are the 16th, 23rd, and 24th forms." Ting Qingshan raised his eyebrows. The 16th form was quite useful to him, but it was already very strenuous for him to study the 17th to 20th forms, let alone the 23rd and 24th forms. "Yes." Ting Qingshan nodded and said, "I have made my decision." The members of the 4 major clans looked at Ting Qingshan, their hearts hanging in their throat. "Mr. Ting Qingshan, which clan will you choose?" Tantai Qing's voice was very melodious as she looked at Ting Qingshan with anticipation. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "The Fu clan." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.